Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. We have a very interesting show today. In fact, this is probably one of the only shows, if I had to put an explicit label on it, I would, and it's because it's of a disturbing nature. We're going to welcome back a guest today that I would term one of my favorite guests. It's a complicated case, and we're going to rewind a little bit. I would encourage you to do one thing for me. If you haven't listened to the Who Killed Missy Witt podcast, I would encourage you to go back and refresh your memory on that. We will recap it just slightly here in the beginning. Not much, just get a quick recap from our guest, LaDonna Humphrey, today. And then we're going to jump into the second book of hers that is out now, along with her co-author, Alecia Lockhart, who's with us as well today. The second book is called Strangled. And folks, it gets a little deeper, and I'll tell you what happened on my end as far as this goes. I was absolutely startled at the end of our last interview when LaDonna said that she had been doxxed by the death fetish porn community. And when you hear those words, I've been doxxed by the death fetish porn community, and we were talking off air, and then she had happened to mention it just briefly at the end of our interview last time. And I was in absolute shock. And then I talked to her off air a little bit, and she said, "Oh yeah, Tim, I'm writing a book about it, and you're going to be amazed when you see it." And I said, "Well, please, I'd like to see it." And I just worried from then on out about her safety. And she said, "You're going to be absolutely amazed at some of the stuff that goes on here." And then I read it. And I tell you, and I've told both ladies, I had to put it down, actually, a few times this weekend and just sit back and watch some football or just get away from it, because it is disturbing. And, you know, I can take a lot. I've pretty much been jaded by life. I'm one of those people who, you know, I'm a realist. I know that there's good and bad in people, but there is just straight up some people who are evil. I mean, maybe bordering on demonic. And I think that's what we're dealing with here, folks. It's just a disturbing story. And with that, let me bring in our guest. LaDonna Humphrey took the lead on the Melissa Witt case. She joined us in our last podcast, Who Killed Melissa Witt? And we had her on last time. I want you to, again, go back and check out that podcast. Let's bring her in right now, and then we'll get an explanation as to how Alecia fits in here with the book Strangled. LaDonna, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, Tim, I'm well. I'm so glad to be here. You mentioned that you enjoyed having me as a guest, but I enjoy your podcast. So it's a true honor. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. For our listeners, just give us a tiny recap of, and I know it's hard to give a tiny recap of this case. I feel bad even saying this, but give us a tiny recap of the Melissa Witt case and what drew you to that case.
So the short version really is this. A 19-year-old girl, Melissa Witt, was abducted in December of 1994, and her body was found 45 days later, an hour away from the abduction site, and she had been strangled. There are so many twists and turns in this case, and in 2015, I got involved with a team of people. We came in prepared to do a documentary about the Witt case, and something about this case just captured my heart. And so for the past 8 years, I've been not only filming the documentary, but working to find justice for Melissa Witt. And that's what led us to the place that we're at today.
And you know what? After we had talked off air, I got to tell you, LaDonna, I've had you in my prayers for a long, long time. I know you've been going through some inhuman stuff when it comes to what you've been put through. And I knew that you'd been put through some stuff, but then when I read this book and I saw what Alicia's been through too, and Alicia's with us today, and I'm glad we were able to get Alecia with us here today as well. I knew at one point you had mentioned there might be some issues with timing with getting her here, so it was a nice surprise to see that Alicia's with us. Tell us how it happened that you and Alecia met up, or how she came into your life to help you break this particular part of Melissa's case. And let's get into that part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is tell my perspective of how that happened, and then I'm going to kick it over to Alecia so she can give you her perspective. But as part of the WIT team and the investigative work that I do, we run a tip line and have a website that accepts information in the WIT case. And one day I got some information from a young woman who told me that she had a very disturbing story to tell me. And she thinks that it could be related to the Melissa Witt case. And that young woman was Alecia Lockhart. And the information that she gave us, which I'm going to let her share, turned the Witt case upside down.
Okay. And let's welcome into the program now, into True Crime Tuesday, Alecia Lockhart. Alecia, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having both of us today. I'm really excited.
Well, we're excited to have you as well. So you find out that this case is out there with Melissa Witt, and you're compelled to call the Witt investigation team. What compelled you to call the Witt investigation team, and what was it that happened in your life that made you think that maybe you had a tip?
Well, I actually had a very strange memory resurface from 2009, and I had been sharing that memory with my sister, who is the person who led me to the Melissa Witt hotline, the tip hotline. As I shared the story with her, she became rather concerned that what I was sharing could be connected to some sort of murder. And the story that I had shared with her from 2009 was that I had briefly worked for a man who was a pornography producer, and he made a lot of strange fetish videos. And I had gotten hired as his personal assistant or secretary, kind of office assistant. But during the course of my first shift, he sort of talked me into agreeing to be on his modeling list for future films. And the first film that he contacted me about modeling in was what you would call a death fetish film, a morgue fetish film. And so what he asked me to do in this film was to pose as a naked strangulation victim wearing nothing but a Mickey Mouse watch. And as I was telling my sister this really creepy memory that I had, she said, "A Mickey Mouse watch? That sounds kind of like a serial killer trophy. I wonder if there's any cases that have to do with a Mickey Mouse watch." And so she Googled it, and what she found was the Who Killed Missy website that LaDonna runs. And when I started going through that website, I just got crazy full body chills, and I felt like this could be something important to share.
Alecia, I got to think that initial hit when you got that website was indeed chilling. Not only chilling, but all the senses have to go off at that point. And I got to think at that point too, then things start they start coming flooding into your brain like, now wait a minute, what did I see when I was there? And did this guy ever treat me like maybe he was going to kill me? What are the sensations that are happening at that time as you're reading through the Melissa Witt case and before you even contact LaDonna and the investigators on the case?
You're absolutely right. The way that felt for me in my body, I pretty much had full body chills for 3 whole months. So I was trying to unpack that whole situation. And there were many layers to that, because in the beginning, I was looking around at the information about the Melissa Witt case, and I was really, at that point, that very first glance, I was thinking, well, maybe this guy that I worked for created this film for her murderer. Perhaps, perhaps that's what had happened. But I did end up landing on a blog post on the Who Killed Missy site, and there was this sketch of a man who was seen changing near the site where Melissa Witt's body was dumped. And that sketch looked so much like the man that I worked for that I quickly switched to wondering if I had perhaps been, being filmed in this basement alone with this man that could have even been her murderer. I was really, my imagination was just going wild with all sorts of scenarios at that point. And I felt very personally invested to, to uncover the truth about that person that I had worked for and who the film had been made for.
Now, I want to focus just briefly on this film that you made, because in the book you describe making this video, and it's eerie. Just the scene of making this film is eerie. Everything about it. Now, keep in mind, and for our audience, we should give them proper scope as to how small this audience really is for death fetish pornography. LaDonna, if I remember right, I think it's cited in the book that it's the community is about around 100,000 people. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we have reason to believe from research that there's roughly about 100,000 people at any given time who are actively seeking and participating in a death fetish.
So the producers of this material aren't exactly rolling in hog heaven as far as money goes. So you're not expecting, and Alecia, I think this is fair to say, you didn't go to a lavish studio to cut this. In your experience, when you first were hired by this producer, you didn't show up to a lavish studio either, did you?
Well, my job interview to be his personal assistant, that actually was at sort of an upscale studio. He had a whole camera crew, and they were filming a different type of film that day. And my first shift as his secretary was at a nice public office space. But when we get into that particular video that he filmed, that was filmed in a basement of a house. So it really did feel like some kind of bait and switch there.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so you actually filmed this in the basement of his house, right?
Right.
Okay, so and it was a very small set, very cramped. I mean, the way you describe it in the book, it almost has a very claustrophobic feel.
Yeah, it was a small house with a small basement, and it was just him and a tripod, and it was very different than the way he portrayed himself the first day that I met him.
The creepiest part to me was the setup before you go down to shoot. And I'm not giggling because it's funny. I'm giggling out of irony and uncomfortableness. Tell our audience about what happened before you even went downstairs.
Yeah. So the day that we were to film this morgue fetish video, he had given me an address of where we were going to shoot. I didn't know that it was just going to be a house, but when I pulled up to the location that I had put in my GPS and parked, I saw that I was in a residential neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. And so I got out of the car and I walked up to the address and knocked on the door. And his girlfriend opened the door, and she, she was clearly not happy that I was there. She said something like, "Oh, another one." And then she opened the door and said, "Hey, Carl, your person's here." And I entered into their living room space, and he had made some lunch for us and some lemonade. And so I ended up having to sit down and have this very awkward lunch with this man and their child and his girlfriend. And they just kind of, they acted like I wasn't there. They just talked about what they were doing that week. And I mean, they themselves seemed like they were having a pretty normal family conversation, but it was just so bizarre that I was there, why I was there and what we were about to do.
Yeah. I was so weirded out by that it was just, oh yeah, by the way, the model who's going to act like she's dead is here, and we're just all going to sit around and have a family lunch. Now, later on, and I don't know if we should get into this yet or not, but well, you know what? Let's go through the shoot first, and then we'll talk about it. But so you're led down to this basement, and as you're describing it, it just sounds eerie. The kind of the it was a very small basement, so these steps the stairway was very small, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was, kind of a dark stairwell, but there were lights on once you got down to the bottom of the basement. And there was just like a living room set up in one area with like a couch and a coffee table and, a rug and a little end table. And then on the side of that, there was actually I think a pool table that had a sheet over it, and it was just a little corner of the room that was set up to look like a morgue slab.
And what exactly did this producer tell you he wanted you to do for the amount of money that he was paying you?
Well, on the phone when we spoke about it, he had told me that he just needed me to lay still in one position and that he would be filming like slow pans of my body, and that it would just look like I was a dead person laying on a morgue slab. But when we actually got to filming, there was a lot more that went into it than that. Firstly, he needed me to wear this Mickey Mouse watch. And when he asked me to do that, he pulled out this really old, worn Ziploc bag that had the watch in it. And he said, "Oh, I can't forget this. I need you to put this on. It's very important to the customer." And I hesitated at that moment. I looked at it. It was a Mickey Mouse watch. I felt a little bit worried that this was becoming some sort of like child pornography situation. I didn't know what to think about it. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, "Whose watch is this?"
Right. Yeah.
And he got kind of mad at me at that point, and he said, "I don't know. Like, I just make the films how they want them. I don't ask any questions. Are you going to put it on or not?" Basically. Oh. And he told me that if I wasn't willing to wear the watch, that he would have to find a different model and that he couldn't pay me to do the film because that was the single most important thing about this film.
Bizarre. Just bizarre. So you, at that point, I mean, he's offering you a lot of money. It's essentially enough to pay your rent, right?
Yeah, at that point, it was more than enough to pay my rent. Back in those days, I was just renting a room in a house, and it definitely covered that and then some. And I guess one thing that I would say that was strange about this film is that, like I said before, he had told me I'd just be laying still in one position, mm-hmm. but that's not really how it went. He actually propped me up in several different positions, like up against a couch and on the floor, and kind of dragged me around in different areas, and it just was way more creepy than it had sounded originally on the phone.
So you're doing what you have to do. You agreed to do the job. You did what you had to do in order to get rent paid, and you made a deal. You did what you did. You did the job. Do you remember how it ended? How things ended with the shoot? I mean, at the time?
So that's another really creepy aspect of the story, is that I have a very vivid memory of how that day started, being upstairs having lunch with him and his child and his girlfriend. But after I changed out of my clothes and put the watch on, it's very hard for me to remember things the way that I can remember the first part of the day. And so much so that I don't remember putting my clothes back on. I don't remember saying goodbye, driving home, anything else from that day. My memory just kind of goes away there. If I try really hard, I can remember some things about the shoot, like, I remember him telling me not to blink and to try not to breathe and, just to look as dead as possible. Mm-hmm. But it really does scare me that I can't remember saying goodbye or driving home. That's
terrifying. I mean, absolutely terrifying. So you've contacted the Witt investigators, and I take it at this point you've told them your story. And what do they make of this Mickey Mouse watch when you tell them about the fact that you've been in this movie? And supposedly it had only been sold to one person, right? It was one person who had this movie?
Right. One of the main reasons why I felt so comfortable doing this was because I was assured that this was a private collection film and that it wasn't going to be on any websites or porn sites. And I probably wouldn't have done this if I had thought that it could go online. And I know that's a little naive because, of course, anybody can share a video that they order. Mm-hmm. But I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s, and I believed what he told me. And so fast forward to when I contact the Witt team, I was worried that I might just sound like a crazy person calling in with a tip like this. I'm sure they get a lot of strange tips, but they took what I had to say very seriously, and they were super interested in learning more about who this man was and, where this film could be now.
I'll tell you this much, Alecia, nothing sounds crazy. I mean, when you're looking at every lead, there's nothing that sounds too fantastical, if you want to use that as a word, because you would be astounded where leads will take you. And this, especially the Mickey Mouse watch, was just such a glaring lead, and especially with the what we're about to find out here in just a bit. LaDonna, let me jump back to you here. So Alecia's contacted you and JC and the gang. That sounds like a group from the 70s. And
the Dream Team.
The Dream Team, yes. And you guys have heard Alecia's story, and you're thinking what?
Our minds are blown because what often happens in a cold case is that you see some of the same information come through over and over and over again. So in some cases it becomes like a legend and it's just passed down and people continue to call it in. But every now and then you'll get something that just sets your hair on fire, right? Because it just is so different. And when you're trying to solve a cold case, you need every scrap of information that you can get to chase down what really happened. So when this came through, I mean, a couple of emotions hit me. Very, very curious, very, very fearful. I'd never heard of Death Fetish. I didn't know what it was. I was horrified to learn that it existed. I was scared when I heard the story for Alecia. I realized that she very well could have been murdered in the situation that she was in. But I also was on high alert, and so were the investigators, when she described how he took this watch out of this old bag. And, the Witt case, all the details about how, the killer took her watch and all of those things just come crashing down. And so this was something that we did take very seriously and that we vowed we were going to chase down to the very end because we really felt like this lead had some pretty serious potential. And, additionally, I want to add, through the course of this, we just happened to compare Alecia's photo against Melissa Witt's photo. And that was also just stunning because there's so many similarities between the two girls. And we really, we were really, really serious about doing everything that we had to do to track down the producer and potentially whoever had purchased the film.
That's what's kind of interesting about this book, this case, is that is that doppelganger effect, isn't it? There's a lot of, and without spoiling anything too much here, between Melissa Witt, Melissa Trotter, Alecia, the producer, and one other person in this book, there's a lot of lookalikes here, isn't there?
There is. It's almost unbelievable. It's, when this all shakes out in the end and we know who killed Melissa Witt and we can celebrate, getting to the end of that case, I think it's probably going to shock us all because, there are just so many different things that are on the table in this case that seem to be linked through what you're talking about, people that look alike, circumstances, areas of the country where people have been, death fetish, and on and on and on. So absolutely, that's still one of the things that just really sticks out to me, just how similar some of these things are in this case. And I'm, determined to find the connection if one exists.
I'm going to question you on that when we come back. We're going to take a break. I know there's going to be some people here, LaDonna, and again, this is a devil's advocate question. Is there a reach here? And I'm going to challenge you on this and ask you why there isn't a reach here to go after this producer. And why is it, and we're going to cite some facts and figures here. Why is it that we're going after the death fetish pornography industry when it comes to citing the Melissa Witt killer? And why is it that they would be a good suspect in this case? Why wouldn't it be a traditional serial killer that went after Melissa Witt? And why are we going down the road of this particular producer? That's what we're going to tackle when we come back. We're going to take our break. The book is available now. Strangled, LaDonna Humphrey and Alecia Lockhart are our guests. We have a link in the description of this program, and you'll be able to get the book during the break. When we come back, we'll tackle that. Why are we going down the road of this producer? And is the death fetish pornography industry the road to go down in this particular case? We're going to challenge LaDonna when we come back. You're listening to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Our guests are LaDonna Humphrey and Alecia Lockhart. The book is called Strangled. It's available right now. And again, I want to remind people who are listening to this program that we do put a bit of a parental advisory label on today's program, as it is dealing with sensitive subjects. LaDonna, before the break, I had mentioned that I was going to just challenge you in a devil's advocate type forum, I guess, as to why we're going in this direction with the death fetish pornography industry. And I want to cite some facts and figures here that you put in the book, and I'll have you do that. I found it interesting that there are thin ties, aren't there, between the death fetish pornography industry and the makings of a serial killer.
Oh, absolutely there are. And, it's never an easy decision to go down a path that seems unconventional. But when you are in the midst of trying to seek the truth in a cold case, sometimes the truth is not going to come to you in a conventional way. And, the importance of chasing this down with the death fetish community is really, it's multifaceted. One, you've got an entire industry of men, primarily men, who are making videos, writing stories, sharing pictures, going to chat forums, and they're glorifying the murder of young women. And that in and of itself should scare the average person that's listening to this podcast. We have got people who are spending 2, 3, 4, 5+ hours a day immersing themselves in a culture that tells them that violence against women is acceptable, it's normal, it's okay for sexual gratification. Let's pretend to strangle them, shoot them, crucify them, all of those things. And so when you put that in context with, you've got one particular producer who is actively making thousands, not just a few, we're talking thousands of strangulation fetish films. And some of these films appear to be, filmed based on true murders, real murders. Melissa Witt, Melissa Trotter, I could go on. And so when you've got a guy that has invited a young woman who looks similar to someone that has been murdered, right? So you've got that. He asks her to pretend to be strangled. He puts her in some positions that are very critical to the case, sensitive to the Witt case. And he asks her to wear a Mickey Mouse watch, which is pretty pivotal to the Witt case. And it becomes the pivotal point in the movie. When you see this film, and obviously you're not going to, but I had to for investigative purposes, and you see this film and he focuses in on that watch, it's for no purpose at all other than that meant something to somebody. And why would that be necessary in a strangulation film? So when you take all of that and you combine it with the realities of what violence against women looks like, when you look at the amount of murders that come out of the death fetish community, real live murders that we can tell you they have been convicted for, then you start to say, we might have something here.
And again, I'll interrupt just briefly here. Only in a devil's advocate sense, because I'm with you on this. Why would it be that the producer isn't just, I hate to even say this because it sickens me to say it. Why would it be that he's not just inspired by the Melissa Witt case in just reenacting it and not being directly involved with it?
Honestly, that is a possibility we've had to look at. I mean, it's absolutely one of those things that were on our list. And that's why it was so important for us to find the producer, get what information that we could out of him to find out, hey, were you just inspired by this case? If so, why? If that wasn't the case, who hired you to make the film? So it was all of those things we had to take into account, but we needed to know the answers to that. It wasn't something that we could leave a question mark on, because time is ticking in this case. It's already almost 28 years old.
Wow.
And, we've got to move forward. And so it was critical, and it was something that we could pursue. And I felt very passionately that we needed to pursue.
If I might add, too, there are a few things that stand out to me about this producer and the Melissa Witt case. One of them being, like LaDonna said, there were some really important positions that my body was placed in during this film that were not things that were released about the case to the public, but were relevant to how Melissa's body was placed. And on top of that, this particular producer, I would assume that if this person had, nothing to do with the case and this were just a random, like you said, it's hard to say, just a random person obsessed with strangling and necrophilia, you would expect that this person would have nothing to do with Arkansas, but that's not really the case. This man has some pretty significant ties to Arkansas and speaks about spending most of his childhood running around Arkansas.
I'm sorry. I just really quickly also wanted to add to that. Then you combine that with, Alicia's description of him taking this watch out of this old, worn out bag. And it seems like it's an old watch that's been kept. It's not something they just recently ordered off of eBay or ordered. And you pair all of this together and you think, I have got to get to the bottom of this. And I was just hellfire determined to do it.
And I don't blame you, LaDonna, not at all. And Alecia, you're right. When you start coming up with things that are outside of just general knowledge and you start using that in a film, well, then you've got a little something more than just somebody inspired by events that had happened in real life. What's interesting here, LaDonna, is Alecia showed more than just a casual interest of just leaving a tip at your doorstep and then backing away. She really was invested now in the Melissa Witt case. I want to know what was it about Alecia that you knew that you could trust in her and want to bring her aboard to help with things here?
One of the things that law enforcement had tasked me with in the beginning is to get to know Alecia. And, we needed to, and I've told Alecia this, so this is not surprising to her. We wanted to make sure she's not a disgruntled girlfriend, ex-wife, just trying to get someone in trouble. And that was something that we had to do. And in the course of getting to know her, her story remained the same. She was very transparent. Sharing this part of her life with someone is not easy. It's very difficult. It's sensitive. And she trusted me with that. And as I got to know her and learned, more about her, it became very clear that she was very genuine and was actually, on top of that, very determined to help us find answers, even if those answers didn't result in Carl being involved in the Witt case. So she was never bent on it has to be him. It was more or less, hey, I've now learned about this cold case. I've also gotten to know you. Your passion has inspired me. I want to help go ahead and see this through. And it just, the synergy, the energy, the friendship that we built was very natural and real. And it was just a slow process. She did a lot of research, and then we start talking every day, and she became just a crucial part of us getting to the bottom of what we were dealing with in the death fetish community. So, there was, it was, at first it was a little scary. I think she would also tell you I was a little offstandish maybe in the beginning. Which I typically am. But, also as being someone who's been involved in the Witt case this long, I'm a private investigator and I deal with people and have participated in many, many, many investigations. I also want to believe that I can get a pretty good read on people. And I had a really good read on her in the beginning. And she's just a really, really good-hearted person that wants to do the right thing.
Alecia, let me ask you this. Where did the continuing passion come from to help in this case, especially try to get justice for Melissa Witt when you are getting challenged or you are getting questioned as to where your loyalties lie or your character lies? Where does that passion come from when you're being tested left and right, or even when you're being tested by stalkers and things are getting tough at home? Where does that passion come from?
That's a really good question. And I think that in the beginning, I just really needed to know the truth about what I had experienced. And as I got further and further into trying to process that and unpack it for myself, something switched there. I think as I learned more about the Melissa Witt case, and as I learned more about LaDonna and what she had been doing for years for a girl that she never knew, I feel like her passion is contagious. And I had, started to learn a lot about the case as it related to my experience, trying to just piece things together for myself. And at some point, a few months in, it just really switched to me knowing a lot about the case and just feeling like I genuinely cared about getting to the truth of the matter. And I felt that I had something to bring to the table or to the Witt team. I had something to offer in terms of my own research abilities. And I just felt very strongly that I was supposed to continue down this path with helping out in any way that I could.
I have an interesting question for you, Alecia. And this is going to seem like an odd question. As I'm reading this book, I begin to think about people's characters and their morals and what people are like on the outside versus on the inside. And, really when you read this book, and I'm sure LaDonna would agree with me, having been in law enforcement for as long as she's been in law enforcement and seeing people's character, and dealing with people's character on a daily basis as she is, you see the good and the bad of people. Mm-hmm. And you would like to think that there's a redeeming factor to everyone, that everyone can be redeemed. When you as you and LaDonna have dealt with the death fetish pornography community, and I don't ask this question lightly, when you dealt with this producer, did you see anything redeeming in him?
That's a super deep question. I tend to side with what you had started that question with, which is just that I do think that there's light and redeeming qualities in every person. I do believe that. And I think that for me to be able to look at him with that sort of a compassionate nature, I pretty much have to go back to looking at that inner child that exists in everybody. And I do think that, there is potentially good in this man. And I think that there's been a lifetime of some pretty intense choices that have led him astray from that piece of himself. But yeah, I definitely do think there are redeeming things about him. I know there are ways that he likes to help. I know he likes to build things with his hands. I know that he cares for his children. And it's very interesting that those things can be true about him while all of these other things are true as well at the same time.
Does it shock you that somebody with children could look at somebody else's child and want to imagine killing and raping somebody else's child?
Yeah, I think that's some intense compartmentalization going on there. And it really screams mental health issues to me. That's what I see when I look at somebody who has children, but also has these sorts of fantasies.
LaDonna, you cited in the book that this has been basically, I guess, classified as a mental illness, that the death fetish itself is a mental illness. Can you speak a little bit about what's been cited in the book?
Yes. Particularly we're looking at cases of necrophilia, which I believe in the DSM-5, it is categorized as a paraphilia. Is that right, Alecia?
Yes, it's a paraphilia.
Yeah. And so, you've got an entire community of people who will tell you, no, this is normal. It's just fantasy. There's nothing wrong with it. But you've got scientific research that says something else. And that in and of itself is frightening because this community, and I say that, I'm saying they, we've dealt with them extensively. And I think it's fair to say that we have a pretty good, feel for their answers about their death fetish. And they do create an environment where they tell other people, this is okay. It's fantasy. It's just pretend. Just come over here and be with us. It's normal. Everybody else out there that's telling you that it's not, they're the bad ones. They're the ones that are mentally ill. They're the ones that are kink shaming. They're the ones that are, catering, these stories to, a certain population of people. And that's just not the case. This fetish is unhealthy. It leads to violence. And we have proven cases that it leads to murder. And there's just no other way around it. They can scream fantasy all they want, but there is a very, very fine line between fantasy and reality.
And I think as adults, and we're all adults here in the room, we can draw a healthy line between a kink and going over the line. Let's face it, and when you're talking about healthy sexual play and you talk about mental illness, there's a difference. Am I wrong about that?
No, I'm really glad that you bring that up because I hate that they're trying to paint us as kink shamers. We want people to have a healthy sex life, and there's a lot of ways that sexual expression can happen, and that, that's a right that everyone should have. But this is something different.
Way different. I mean, there's a difference between, light bondage and strangling somebody to the point where they die. There and that difference is the difference between a hole in a golf course in the Grand Canyon. I mean, there's no comparison.
There's not. This is the glorification of murder of young women and necrophilia and acts of necrophilia. There's nothing normal or healthy about that.
Right.
It's so dangerous.
And LaDonna, I know you know this from having dealt in the field of drug and alcoholism. It's there's a lot of denial going on there in order to justify what it is you're doing. You have to live in a pit of denial that what you're doing is wrong, or I shouldn't say wrong. It's not. It's morally. I don't want to say morally bankrupt either, but what they're doing is morally bankrupt. I'm not referring to an addiction as morally bankrupt, but what I'm referring to the death fetish pornography is morally bankrupt. But they know that what they're doing is not of a. I'm stumbling on my words here. LaDonna, help me out.
No, but I mean, I see where you're going with this. So, when you liken it to an addiction, let's say a meth addiction,
yes.
Because I do work with addicts in my day job, and, they continue to get that fix, and they know that it's bad for them, but they're going to continue to do it, and they're going to continue to lie and steal and anything else they have to do to feed that fix. And this is very, very similar.
Yes.
Because, we see lots of conversations within these death fetish forums where, they want to convince others and themselves, well, I'm really not so bad. I hold down a job. I have a family, but I just need to take a peek at seeing somebody stabbed in the belly so I can get some sexual gratification. And I think then they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And when you feed that monster, whether it's addiction or death fetish, and you continue to feed it, eventually that monster is going to take over. And so for these people who are in these forums, and some of them are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, their monster has taken over. And these are the monsters that in turn doxed me, have threatened to burn my house down, and have threatened to, human trafficking on serious issue here. Serious issue.
True. Very true. Now let's get to that part of it, because this case gets a little bit deeper. I want to give Alecia her props here, because she went not only from just how should I say it? She went not just from giving a tip and getting involved to now as we get deeper into this, she's really becoming quite the sleuth. Wouldn't you say that, LaDonna? She's digging up information on Carl.
Alecia, I liken it to this. She started out, she was victimized, and she turned in a tip as a victim. And now she's turned into full-fledged advocate and my full partner in crime. I mean, I'm amazed by her and impressed by her every single day.
And what's interesting, and again, kudos to you here, Alecia, you start to really dig into where Carl has been in different timelines. And tell me a little bit first here, Alecia. You're starting to connect the dots. You're doing the work online, and you're starting to connect places and you're keeping files, which is interesting, of where Carl has been. And you guys are working in tandem, and you're kind of playing, I don't want to say a little game with Carl, but you're luring him in a little bit as to. And tell me how it is you're luring him into, what's the word I'm looking for here? To kind of trap him a little bit. Put it that way.
Well, yes. When I first started looking into Carl online, I solely, like I said in the beginning, I thought, well, I'm just going to give this tip and then walk away. Oh, well, I should probably just find his website for them and walk away. Oh, well, they just need, one more piece of information. So I kind of dipped my feet in the water until I just kind of woke up one day and was full blown investigating him online. And I was keeping files on the things that I found. And one thing that I noticed was that on different platforms, Carl had different things to say about himself. It was fascinating, really, to see who he was in the death fetish forums versus who he was on Facebook, even versus who he was on Twitter. There were a lot of different angles to Carl, and, so many different work experiences that he had. I felt at some points like I was researching like 12 different people. It was really fascinating to me. And I actually come from a psychology background. That's what I went to college for. And, I have spent some time working in a psych ward under a therapist license as a QMHA.
Okay.
So the mental aspect of this is very fascinating to me as well. And I do have a drive within me just to seek the truth and to advocate for women and to bring justice forth. And those were passions of mine that I feel were laying dormant until this moment where they just became super activated by this situation. And to touch on your question about, kind of getting all this information about Carl and then switching into a more active role where we were sort of tricking him, that part of the book is actually, we'll give all credit to LaDonna, because LaDonna did end up creating a persona that she knew would appeal to Carl and going ahead and fostering an undercover relationship with him.
Which is interesting, but at the same time is a little bit, don't you think, playing with fire? You do want to bait the hook a little bit. You do want to get him interested in you to the point of wanting to get his attention. But let me ask you this, LaDonna, if we have you back now, is it enough to maybe stoke a fire that gets a little out of control?
Any situation like that is dangerous, and I don't condone or endorse anyone in the public trying to take on that kind of investigation. But I did so with full knowledge and consent of law enforcement. I checked in with them every day. I had access to a therapist, and I had a support system from Alecia and my husband. And even that wasn't enough to prepare me. I mean, Carl was full blown. He was in love with me, wanted me to move in with him. It was really, really, really intense. And at one point, it became clear that he was just trying to groom me for the porn industry. And so, yeah, it is playing with fire. But at that point in time, it was the only way we could extract the information out of him that we needed. And we were successful in that.
Wow. And things ramp up. And again, there's a lot in the book to find individually. Just reading through some of the experiences, they're just horrifying. I mean, in the different ways that he comes at both of you. And I'm curious, when we first talked, LaDonna, you told me in the end of the first book, you're being approached by Horror Man. Now, I don't know if I should ask this outright or not. You could tell me whether you want to answer it or not. Is Horror Man Carl?
Got to read the book and find out.
Okay, all right. You got to read the book. All right. But in the book, by the way, folks, is Strangled. We've got a link to it in the description of this program. It's written by LaDonna Humphrey and Alecia Lockhart. And what I love about the book, by the way, and kudos to both of you, is it's written in both voices. So you get LaDonna's perspective, you get Alecia's perspective, you get both their stories. And I tell you, it meshes very well. You get both voices and they coincide and to the point where one's talking to the other and both stories mesh perfectly. It's a very interesting book. But there are some, again, I'll throw that line out there that there are just some scenes in this book that absolutely you might have to take a minute to kind of detox from it. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. We had to take time away from it to detox from it as best as we could. I mean, it's, you're digging into the depravity of man. in this death fetish community. It's a lot to absorb.
I know we've brought up the fact that it's been classified as a mental illness, but, and let me ask you this, Alecia, do you feel like, and it's been cited too, it's cited in the book that a lot of the people that partake in death fetish pornography are on these sites sometimes hours and hours in a day. But do you feel like these people integrate into society and that they do it well? Or do you feel like these are people that are truly outcasts that don't integrate well with other people?
Well, to be honest with you, I would say that they're integrating pretty well. And that actually scares me more than if they weren't, because you can go in there and you can read. There's certain threads where they talk about their real life experiences. And we've got, people that are in there that have very highly regarded positions. They'll talk about their work. Some of them are school teachers. Some of them are IT professionals. Some of them are drug and alcohol counselors. Some of them are therapists. And it's just, it's astounding to realize that they're walking around in their daily life and that nobody, sometimes not even their spouse, knows this deep, dark secret of theirs about what they're doing when they get home and pop on the computer at night.
See, that's what's absolutely chilling to me, that to think that maybe a professional I'm seeing in an office somewhere would want to pop off and kill me in a moment. To me, that's probably the most unnerving, if they just happen to have a little bit of an inkling towards having an attraction to me, they'd want to take me off in the woods and do unspeakable things to me. And I wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, that's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you think about what you hear about other people who have encountered serial killers, they always say, oh, he was the most normal neighbor. He was the nicest guy, and I think a lot of people are walking around with some dark thoughts in their heads, and you never know.
So let me ask this. And again, I'll put it back in your lap here, Alecia, because it's always a worry. I think it's a worry for the females in our lives, especially, and you can't worry too much. What do we do for the females in our lives to help protect them against anything? I mean, it seems like society has this want to put the blame on the female first. Well, you gotta protect yourself. You gotta keep yourself protected more than anything. It shouldn't be on the female in the society, first of all, to be to put the blame on her. Pardon my language. We're a fucked up society as it is.
Agreed.
Yes. So, but what can you do to personally try to protect yourself as much as you can to keep from falling into the clutches of one of these degenerates?
Well, I think, like you said, there's a lot that we can say to women, like you should do this, or you can't be too careful about this, or, make sure people always know your whereabouts, or do background checks on people before you spend time with them. There's a million little things that women can do to keep themselves safe. But I like to look at the big picture. And I think what the big picture is that until we start holding men accountable, or, holding anyone accountable who is taking advantage of someone and raping, assaulting, murdering, we have to hold people accountable regularly, or they will continue to do what they know they can get away with. And so I feel like that's a big part of why LaDonna and I feel so passionate about continuing our work and just letting people know that death fetish forums and websites exist online, and that they shouldn't, because they are normalizing this kind of behavior for a large group of people.
This next question is kind of a tough one. I'm going to throw it at LaDonna. So you may see less and less of death fetish pornography on the regular web, but it may escape to the dark web. A place that's not so easy to access. I mean, you can access it, but it's harder to access. Are you seeing more and more of these sites escaping to the dark web?
I think a disturbing, reality is that they're not all on the dark web. Much of this can be accessed, at least the forums and some of the art related and movie clips can be accessed through a Google search, which we don't want people to do. We're afraid that they're going to want to try to do it anyway, but don't go see something that you can't unsee, because it does change you. It does create issues. And that's why I'm so adamantly against the death fetish existing, because these are things that your children can stumble upon. These are things that people with a mental illness and predisposition for murder can come across and believe that their thoughts are okay. Instead of seeking the help that they need, they're getting, these thoughts reinforced that this is normal, this is okay, join us. And so it's really important that somebody takes a stand. And it looks like that's going to be Alecia and I. And even if this community doesn't have anything to do with Melissa Witt's murder, I can't look away from it, and she can't either. We have to stand and fight and say, this is not okay. And we're going to stand up for every woman, that has been a victim of violence or has no voice, and say, we are going to put a stop to this. No more.
Here's probably the worst fear of all. If they make that escape eventually off to the dark web, how do you defeat the dark web? I mean, that's one of those ones that I think, you depend a little bit on government about, you depend a little bit on others about, maybe some hackers that could take some stuff down. But a lot of the evil hackers out there are some of the ones who are responsible for keeping the dark web going.
I don't have a great answer for that. I wish I did. There really is not a great and safe way for any of us to take down the dark web, because if people want to be involved in evil, nefarious things, they're going to do that. That's human nature. They're going to find a way. But what we can simply do is stand up and say, we're going to fight for legislation that's going to put teeth in and laws that are going to make this illegal. We're going to help people become aware that this is something that happens. Be careful on the internet, watch your kids. Those are the things that we can do. And I think that's all that's needed, really, at this point. I mean, Alecia, don't you think that's fair to say, is we can only do what we can do. And then, hopefully other people will link arms with us, and maybe there will be those officials who can dip into the deep web and start putting a stop to things there too. I don't know, but we're going to start just, baby steps. And that began with talking about it openly, in our book and on these podcasts.
Why do the current obscenity laws not cover death fetish pornography?
Well, the current obscenity laws the cases go really case by case basis, because what's obscene to one community may not be obscene to another. So if a producer of a video is reported to the FBI as obscene, they'll take a look at it. And if it goes to trial, they're going to be basing their decision off of the jury that's in that room that day. And so they don't put into writing exactly what is obscene and what isn't obscene. But when you look at other cases of obscenity charges, the things that get charged most frequently are bestiality pornography, child pornography, and pornography that depicts a sex act with a human corpse. And there used to be quite a few charges just with like excrement or bodily fluids like pee and, urine and feces. That seems to be less likely these days. Those charges aren't happening as often. But the other things that I mentioned are, there's a pretty good chance that if you bring something of that nature to a trial, that it will get an obscenity charge. So that gives us a bit of hope that other cases where there's depiction of necrophilia have been charged with obscenity and forced to remove their websites and their content. So it's really just a matter of tracking down who these producers really are in real life and reporting them to the FBI. And that's been a lot of our work this last year. I personally have been hunting down business licenses and figuring out who these guys are.
Wow. Okay. I give you all the credit in the world, Alecia. You are one heck of a detective.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, just reading this book, folks, again, if you get a chance, you'll see Alicia's got one heck of a nose for hunting down information. And she comes up with quite a bit on this producer who's but basically they go out there between one person on one of the websites who ends up doxing LaDonna and the producer. I mean, you guys do as much as you can to try and strike back just as harshly as they do. And you manage to get a lot of information on both of them. I'm impressed. I'm impressed at what you are able to dig up on them. And because I'll tell you, it's tough to get information. As much as we hear our information is compromised out there on the web, if the average person tries to go out there and find information on the web, it's pretty hard to do. But I'm impressed, Alecia, on how you're able to dig up stuff just at a moment's notice. I just give you kudos on that. The book, by the way, folks, is called Strangled. It's written by LaDonna Humphrey and Alecia Lockhart. I'm going to ask you before we depart today, although the experiences and some of the more scarier experiences are in the book, and we're going to save that for people to pick up the book. Both of you have been, not to put it lightly, you've been tortured by a lot of these stalkers, mainly the producer of that film, Carl. But there have been some pretty scary experiences for both of you. If you would recount one of your scariest experiences, each of you. We'll start with LaDonna, if you would, LaDonna. One of the more scarier experiences you've had throughout this entire ordeal with the death fetish pornography world.
Sure. There, like you mentioned, there have been many, but one that sticks out was my doorbell rang one afternoon and I answered the door and there's this, smiling florist that says, I have a delivery. And I look and it's legitimate. He's driving a real florist van. He gives me the flowers and I shut the door and I balance them on my hip so I can read the card. And the flowers are from Horror Man, and he lets me know that he knows where I live.
Oh.
And that's when I realized my life was never going to be the same again. There's that saying goes, if you peer into the darkness, it's going to peer right back at you. And, that's where we're at. But that was probably one of the scenarios where I realized there was no going back.
Oh, my gosh. Alecia, one of your scarier experiences?
Oh, it's hard to choose from all the things that have happened over the last 14 months. Fortunately, though, I live in a remote location, and I feel like it would be pretty hard for somebody in that community to make a stop by my house. Mm-hmm. But I do feel completely touched by the daily communications that I receive from members of the death fetish community. And probably the most disturbing thing that happens to me is that I get text messages late at night from fake phone numbers, and they describe in great detail, what they're going to do to my body after they abduct me and murder me. And they're very graphic text messages. And it's become a part of my day-to-day life because they haven't stopped. They just continue to come in. I mean, it's probably been 2 days since I've gotten one of those.
That's crazy. You're still getting them to this day.
Yes, I do. I still get them. The ones that I've been getting recently make it very clear that whoever is sending these is in the middle of reading our book. Because one of the last ones I got said, Chapter 4 burns me.
What?
Into the Woods. That was Mr. Coleman himself. I'm quite sure of it.
Really?
And, they as they continue to harass and bully and try to intimidate us, I think what at some point maybe they'll understand, yet they haven't yet, is that does not deter us. In fact, it just makes us stand up taller, roll up our sleeves and say, you want to fight? Let's go. Because we have to do this. We have to stand up for Melissa, for our daughters, and for everyone else's daughters too. And I, firmly believe that, whatever your higher power is, God, the universe, for me, it's God. He brought me to this, and he's going to see us through this. And this is almost a destiny type situation for Alecia and I. And we're just not going to stop. And at some point, I hope they're smart enough to learn that. It would be better for them to try to slink back into the darkness. I don't think this is a fight that they want.
Well, it seems the law has failed you, so I certainly hope that God will come through soon, because this just isn't something that can go on long term. It just can't. It's torture.
I would hope not, but we've published the book. We launched a podcast, and we've been very, very vocal about the death fetish community. We're shining a light on a community that's been fairly successful in this country of keeping itself hidden. And so to have the kind of exposure that they have right now, it's scary to them, because the Witt case, our team and the things that we've done have a huge following, from the book sales to the website to everybody that wants to see this case solved. And so I think there's a bit of scrambling happening in the death fetish community because they know trouble is brewing.
I agree. And I think it's going to be a hell of a year.
That's a good way of putting it. So with that being said, and I'll put it on you, Alecia, how soon do you think before there's a break in the case, before something happens here significant?
I'm super, super excited for a break in the case. And we've had some new things going on behind the scenes that we can't talk about, but I would not be surprised if there was some sort of arrest this year. I feel like that's fair to say.
Absolutely. She's absolutely right. And so we are just there, and we're going to see it to the end.
Good deal. Well, you know what? I wish you the best of luck, ladies. And again, folks, I want you to pick up this book. Again, I highly encourage you to pick up this book, and keep both ladies in your prayers. The book is out and available right now. It's called Strangled. LaDonna Humphrey and Alecia Lockhart are the authors, and unfortunately, the ladies going through this personal experience. We have a link in the description of the show. Go ahead, click on that link, pick up the book today. And what's the name of the podcast? Where can they find it?
DeepDarkSecretsPodcast.com, and we're on multiple platforms. We've already started to build a following, and our first season is entitled Death Fetish in the Daylight.
All right. And I encourage you guys to go listen to it. Go give it some listens, give it some downloads, and let's shine some more light on this, shall we? LaDonna, Alecia, I thank you so much for joining us today on True Crime Tuesday.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. We love having this opportunity, and we enjoy visiting with you. So thank you.
Well, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much, ladies. It's time now to bring in Beer City Bruiser. We'll lighten it up a little bit, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time you've all been looking forward to, and I'll tell you what, thank God it's that time. That was kind of a rough first part of True Crime Tuesday. So we're going to try and lighten it up here. We're going to try to scrub the old brain out. It's time now for Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. And we bring in our co-host, the co-host with the most, the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear, Beer City Bruiser himself. Bruiser, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't wait to kind of give everybody a palate cleanse after that.
Yeah, I tell you, there's some true evil in the world, my friend. And I think I think we heard about it today with Death Fetish Pornography. That's wow.
At least there's awareness around it so people know.
That's right. You're right.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, got to be aware of the evil out there. There's so much evil.
That's true. That's very true. You had a weekend of barbecue and brawling, my friend.
I sure did. And I won a championship title on Friday.
Did you?
I won a title.
There you go, my man.
I did in Junction City, Kansas, which was a lot of fun. I didn't have that great a barbecue, though. We stopped at a Billy Sims barbecue place.
Billy Sims, really? The running back?
The old Detroit Lions running back.
Oh my God, I used to love him as a kid. Was Billy there? Was he handing you the barbecue personally?
There's pictures of him everywhere. I thought he was Barry Sanders at first because he was number 20.
Yeah,
Barry's number 20 Lions of my time is Barry Sanders.
Okay, yeah.
And I wonder, why did they keep having Barry Sanders everywhere? So we ended up looking up, and it was Billy Sims.
Right.
But yeah, it was nothing to write home about. Yeah, I was not impressed.
No, Billy Sims, see, I'm so old that Billy Sims was the number 20 in my day. Billy Sims was known as a guy who, and he had a very short career with the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
But man, could that guy run over people.
Could he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. You got to watch a little bit of archival footage. That's all there is out there on YouTube, by the way.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Just a little bit. But I remember there was one run, and it's the most famous run of his, I believe, where he's about to take off running, and there's I don't remember if it was a linebacker or a safety in front of him, but he took off running, and rather than run around him or over him, he jumped up in the air, and he almost did this karate kick and just kicked the guy. Yeah, Billy was a little eccentric.
70s and 80s football was so much fun to watch because it was the wild, wild west.
It is, and it was. Yeah. And Billy, unfortunately, Billy had knee issues.
Okay.
Yeah. And Billy was huge. I think he went to the University of Oklahoma, if I remember
right. He was in OU. Yep.
Yeah.
They have pictures of him in that, too.
Yep.
Either nominated for the Heisman or won the Heisman, I think.
Yep. Yeah, he had some Heisman activity in there. Yeah. And there's actually a really interesting, I think it's an E60 on Billy Sims out there. If you're an ESPN Plus subscriber, look up Billy Sims and look up that you can do that by going to ESPN Plus. Watch the E60 on him. It's really interesting.
Okay. His barbecue was just meh.
It was just meh?
Yeah. I expected more.
That's too bad.
Maybe my expectations were too high.
That might have been.
Yeah. But I ordered brisket and it just wasn't...
Really?
It didn't melt in your mouth. The barbecue sauce is okay. I like that.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, it just wasn't a fan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I get the potato salad all the time because like we were talking about off air, my grandmother used to make the best potato salad and I can't find one like it. So I always order potato salad when I get barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to. Yeah.
It was real dry. Real dry. Yeah.
Gosh. That's disappointing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about the other place? You tried Billy Sims. What was the other one you tried? Was there a second one?
No, we by the time we got done with the show on Saturday, and we had to drive back to the airport to get me back to the airport in time, we didn't have time to. The restaurant was closed.
Okay.
Because the show ran a little late on Saturday, which happens, you know.
Yeah.
And we had planned on it, but then it ran a little late, so we ended up going to Hooters and eating some wings and seeing the end of the UFC fight.
Oh, you can't go wrong with that.
No. And then I drove straight to the airport, slept in the airport for a little bit, and flew home.
Oh, there you go. I wanted to live vicariously through you, so of course I went over to Jelly Bean and Julia's over in Anoka. I dropped you a message to let you know that I did that.
Yes, you did. I got it.
I did.
And it kind of upset me because I had crappy beef barbecue in there. You were having like the best.
I should see if Corey can hook you up with a package and see if he can like ice it down and send it to you. I don't know if he can do that or not.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm going to check with him, see if he can. You know what? Corey has actually come up with, I think I either sent it to you or I tagged you in the Wing King commercial that he did before Halloween. Yeah. But which, by the way, very funny commercial he did. So I had to try the wings.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, these wings.
Good.
Oh, Bruiser, these wings. Oh my God, my friend. He double brines these wings.
Oh,
they're so good. So good. And then if you take, I got the sauce on the side because he's got two sauce choices. Okay. He's got buffalo sauce, and I'm not a big buffalo wing guy.
Neither am I.
No.
I will if someone offers me them, but I'm not. And I'm like you. I like the wing by itself and the sauce on the side so I can dip it.
Yes, exactly. So it's either that or he has a combination of all three barbecue sauces, which will absolutely blow your anus out. So I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah.
So I asked one of the ladies there, I said, can I just get, because I'm a big fan of the Dr. Pepper sauce. I'm a big fan of the apple bourbon sauce. So I said, can I just get the two sauces on the side? And they said, absolutely. So I was like, yeah. So now I'm cooking with gas, right? And then I got a pound and a quarter of the brisket. And my God, I had a happy weekend.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
that's good.
I had to, Bruiser, I was so happy.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get some brisket this weekend from Hillbillies because that's to die for out here.
I'm telling you. So I sat down, I watched the Gophers beat whatever team they're playing. I don't know. I was paying attention to brisket and wings, to be honest with you.
You should be.
I just saw the Gophers route. That's all I know.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was fun. And then and then I would read the book, LaDonna and Alecia's book, and then I'd watch a little bit more football. Yeah, I had to have a mind cleanser there after a bit, and then I saved some of the leftovers for the next day for the Vikings game. So there you go. So it barbecue goes so good with football. It does. No, it's a match made in heaven. It is.
Yeah.
So
we usually Sundays, if I'm not on the road, that's what we try to do: barbecue and football.
Yeah, it's so good, so good. I'm so sorry that Billy Sims didn't work out for you.
That's all right. I had really good wings yesterday when we watched football. So
there you go.
Yeah,
I gotta throw this combination at you real quick because it's disturbing to me, and I see the commercials on TV, and I got to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
B-Dubs has the wing pizza.
I saw that.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
Not a fan.
I'm not either. It's unnatural to me.
But I'm not a fan of B-Dubs.
Yeah. See, I like their naked tenders.
Yeah, I'm not. They're maybe not even in my top 5 of wing places.
No. I mean, yeah. It's if it's late at night and I need something.
I just don't think you need. You can just order a chicken pizza. You don't need wing pizza.
Yeah.
That's where I do like buffalo. I like a buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could, if you wanted something like that, you could go to your grocer's freezer and you could get like California pizza or whatever and get the buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah. And Mrs. Bruiser, she finds a pizza somewhere. It's a chicken Alfredo pizza. And it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just, or California Pizza Kitchen, buffalo chicken pizza is what I was trying to get at. That's what I was trying to get out of my head there. I just think it's an aberration to most Buffalo wing chicken places and pizza places in general to throw the two of them together. I see it on the commercial and I want to throw things at my TV.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good at all.
No. That and the guy who sings that Whopper, 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 Whopper song, I want to throw things at him too. I want him off my television as well, but I don't know how to accomplish it.
I'm just happy the political ads are all over.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah. I wanted to start a 24-hour political parody channel, political ad parody channel, and just start making up the worst things about those people that you could ever think of that are totally untrue.
Right. Well, of course.
Yeah. Make up parody ads and just play them over and over again.
Yeah.
But that's over with. That season's over with. So we don't have to worry about that either.
Yeah. So I didn't mind watching the football commercials yesterday because you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Now it's just too much of Shaq. Shaq's everywhere.
Shaq is everywhere, isn't he?
He is. Yesterday during the down here in North Carolina during the Packer game, because that was game of the week, Packer Dallas. They had 3 Shaq commercials in a row. General's Insurance, I think it is.
Okay.
He did.
Yep.
He did the Papa John's one, and what was the third one? I think it was another insurance one.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. He's all over. Yeah.
And I went, wow, Shaq literally was just this whole. There was one more commercial. There was that Peyton Manning country singer one. So I'm like, Shaq just made a ton of money.
He did.
In a minute 30, Shaq just made a ton of money.
Somewhere his accountant was just going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Yeah, it's disturbing. It's disturbing how much money Shaq makes in retirement.
Yeah, but he's a good human being. I don't know if you've ever seen the Shaq Show on TNT, and he does a lot for the community. He does a lot for kids, and he's a good person. So
he is. Yeah, he'll just walk into a place and buy somebody something they need, and he's just an amazing human being. Yeah.
And which I think everyone that's rich like that should do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, share the wealth.
Exactly. Share the wealth. You got it. As we jump into dumb crime, stupid criminals, I think I found a couple of people who don't share the wealth. Where this is an update on a story from back in January of this past year. Has to do with a couple of Texas numbskulls who used a stolen iPad to take celebratory post-theft selfie photos. They were being hunted by Houston cops after the incriminating images. They were backed up to the victim's iCloud account, which is interesting enough. The dopey duo are suspects in the January 8th theft of an iPad, a laptop computer, a radar detector, and cash from a truck owned by Randy Schaefer, who parked the unlocked vehicle overnight in front of his home in Houston's Tony River Oaks neighborhood. A week after the crime, 38-year-old Schaefer discovered a series of images like the one I'm looking at, which I'm going to let Bruiser take a look at this. If you were on your iCloud account and saw that, you probably want to run that to the police.
Yeah, you would. But now, this is the thing about the idiot criminals.
Yeah.
People, like, I shouldn't say it. Like, you go online, everyone can see that.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And I always play Red Dead Redemption 2 with my father online. I've told you this in the past, off the air, because when he was sick and stuff, he couldn't really do anything, and he needed to keep his mind. And sure, we'll go online and sit and play for a couple hours chatting with my dad. Well, he didn't realize that when you talk into the headset, you're not just talking to me, you're talking to everybody on the game, and everybody can hear what you're saying.
That's true.
These criminals here. Guys, you can take that picture all you want.
Yeah.
But everybody can see it.
Yeah. I think that might be part of the allure, They're kind of the mo money set,
But the police are trained to look at that and track it down to see where that is.
Yeah, I don't
It's called an IP address.
Yeah. Plus there's meta information on the photo that tells you exactly where it's been taken.
That's how BTK got caught.
Yeah. See,
he sent in that disc and goes, if I send this in, you can't track me. They're like, well, we sure can't. And they found the meta data and went, oh, this came from this church. Let's go see who sent it.
Yep. Yeah, not too smart there. A week after the crime, 38-year-old Schaefer discovered a series of images that had been automatically uploaded from the missing iPad to his iCloud account. Those images showed the two suspects mugging for the camera and holding fans of $100 bills, like I just showed Bruiser. One of these men even uploaded a gloating video to his Facebook account, identifying himself as Dorian and his sidekick as Dylan, or Dylon if he was a Dave Chappelle fan. By the way, did you see it? I take it you were on the road, so you haven't seen SNL. Are you a Dave Chappelle fan?
I am, and I saw when I went on Peacock the other day, I saw that he was the host, so I got it on my queue right now.
You got to watch it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think it's the only funny episode of SNL this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's an absolutely hilarious person. Joe Rogan tells a story about how Joe Rogan he was doing stand-up in Ohio, and that's where Chappelle lives.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Dave said, hey, do you mind if I stop by and say hi? And Joe's like, yeah, come on out. And then they're backstage, and Chappelle goes, hey, do you mind if I do a few minutes? And Rogan's like, well, yeah, please. And there's video posted somewhere when because he's unannounced, that when he walks on stage, there's a good 3-minute standing ovation for him.
Wow.
So he goes, well, thank you for that. Now I only have to do 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was a good episode this past weekend. You got to check it out. It's
Okay,
good stuff.
I will.
Dorian, the smoking gun had learned, is Dorian Marquis Walker Gaines, a 20-year-old Houston resident whose rap sheet includes a 2013 conviction for marijuana possession in a drug-free zone and a 2014 trespassing caller. Police arrested Walker Gaines on the latter charge last August, charging that he had lawfully entered a vehicle owned by a Houston woman. The misdemeanor case against Walker Gaines, who has the word brilliant tattooed across his chest. You can't make it up.
It should be lack of.
Yeah, lack of brilliance. You might want to change that T to a CE. Was subsequently dismissed by a magistrate judge. Court records list Walker Gaines's Houston home address as Covenant House, which provides shelter and social services to homeless and at-risk youth. Walker Gaines, again, seen in a series of mugshots you can't see because it's a podcast. In the Facebook video, which was shot inside a Burger King 2 miles from Schaefer's home, he's probably the one who sings the jingle I hate so much.
Yep, he's the guy you want to throw your remote at.
That's right. Walker Gaines introduces Dylan as his brother. While it appears the men are not related, Dylan may also reside at Covenant House. While displaying dozens of $100 bills, Walker Gaines says, "This, my good people, is what we get from a good night's hustle." Dylan chimes in, "No 20s, no 5s, no 10s. Then Walker Gaines explains, "If you hustle, you put your bullshit aside. You get this?" No, but
if they were true hustlers, they wouldn't be living in a halfway house.
No, they'd at least have a one room somewhere.
That's like I've talked to people that say they're thugs. I'm like, you're not a thug if you're carrying a 2-year-old around. That's not thuggish.
That's not the thuggish, ruggish bone.
You're not thug if you're pushing a stroller.
That's right. According to a Houston Police Department spokesperson, Casey Smith, the theft case was referred to the department by the Harris County Constable's Office over the weekend. The probe, which is being handled by the HPD's Auto Theft Division, is now under active investigation. Walker Gaines finally figured it out. He deleted his Facebook page in the face of stories and online chatter about the damning selfies. It was an action recommended by several Facebook members, one of whom counseled, "Yo, deactivate your page. You hot.
You hot.
You hot."
HAWT.
The update is that cops arrested the two iClods in a theft probe. They finally got them. I do have the sound effect on here. I just don't have the page up, but it's the "Ladies and gentlemen, we got them." I think I have it here. It's is this it right here? Nope, that's not it. Yeah, it is. I think it is. Isn't it?
Hey.
Nope, that's not.
Hey.
I'm repeating this information to the father of the suspect.
Nope, that's not it either.
Yeah.
That's just a police call.
We got him.
We got him. It's a "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So what criminals need to learn, you're not balling, you're not hustling, if you're posting from a Burger King to your Facebook page.
You're just stupid. That's all.
You're just stupid, and the police are going to find you.
That's right. We move on. A man arrested for a DUI was on meth, surprisingly, and was driving with an owl inside his car.
Oh, I can't wait to hear if it was his owl or if it's just a random owl.
Right. Well, everyone's got to have a sidekick while you're driving high on meth, and it just turns out that this man in Payson, Arizona, had an owl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him. You got to have a pet.
Yep. If you see a wild animal, leave it alone.
Yeah, we said that how many times on this podcast?
Right. That's what the Payson Police Department is also saying. It's reminding people after a man allegedly bought an owl early Thursday morning. He bought the owl.
He bought it. Okay.
He bought it.
I hope his meth dealer sold it to him. Like, hey, not only am I going to sell you this meth, but I'm going to sell you an owl. You just go in that barn over there and catch it, and it's all yours.
What's interesting is the owl was cheaper than the meth. Police say officers pulled over Mason Stapley for DUI, and to their surprise, they found an owl beside him inside the car. Oh, that's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah, it is. The owl's just sitting there like, whoo.
Do you ask for little tiny handcuffs for his claws? I mean, because he is a suspect. He's aiding and abetting.
Yeah. So if he knowingly was a part of him taking the meth and knowingly know he was under meth when he got in the car, that owl might not know. That owl could be just the innocent bystander. That owl probably was just chilling out, looking for mice. And here comes this messed out guy going, I own you now. Throws him in the car.
I think the owl looks guilty. I'm looking at him right now.
All owls look guilty.
He looks guilty as sin. He's like, who, me?
Do you think that when the guy got arrested, the owl turned his head all the way around and went, cop behind us?
He probably did, but the guy was too high to even acknowledge it. So they pulled Mason Stapley over for DUI. To their surprise, found an owl beside him inside the car. Stapley told officers another driver found the owl along the road and sold it to him for $100 at a gas station.
There you go.
If somebody finds an owl and offers to sell it to you, do you buy it?
No. No, because it's not like you go to a pet store and there's owls there. That owl is a wild animal. And have you seen the talons on an owl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want... would I like to own an owl? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to buy it from a guy in a gas station who just... like you just said, he found it on the side of the road. I want to know how he caught it.
Right.
Did he throw his jacket over it and hope the guy fell asleep?
And how do you decide that it's going to stay around you?
I know how.
How?
Tootsie Roll Pop. He said, how many legs does it get to the center of this Tootsie Roll Pop? And the owl goes, let me check. 1, 2, 3.
What happens when you run out of Tootsie Pops?
The owl leaves.
See? There's a catch to everything. The Payson Police Department would also like to take this opportunity to encourage the public not to use methamphetamine, or you too may find yourself illegally purchasing a wild owl. This is a real statement.
Don't do meth, you'll buy wild owls.
For $100 in the middle of the night from strangers at a local gas station, the department said on Facebook. That's some pretty obvious advice right there.
How'd that conversation come up? How do you think how do you think it started out before the owl was brought in for sale?
Hey man, psst. You want some owl pellet? So I think it probably went down.
I just picture the guy standing outside the gas station with a glove on, holding the owl up like this. And people just walking past and he went, hey, $100. It's all yours.
That guy was like, whoa, man, owl. It's my spirit animal.
Is that an owl on you?
That's majestic as fuck, dude.
You think the whole ride he's so high, he's like, man, owl, you're so wise. Everything you're telling me just makes sense, man.
The owl's just looking at him in the front seat yeah. Stapley was arrested for aggravated DUI, possession of meth, and possession of wildlife. Here's the interesting thing. Unfortunately, the poor owl was injured and couldn't be released back into the wild.
Aww.
That's how they so easily got a hold of the owl.
Yeah, it probably was broken wing or something. Yeah. Jerk.
We think she got knocked around or jostled somehow in that tumultuous night she had, said Liberty Wildlife's wildlife biologist Laura Hackett.
The guy was trying to put her in a seatbelt. That's why.
That's probably it. Yeah. The officer handled it like a pro, so he has a good story to take home to his family, Laura went on to say. I think Laura's...
No one's going to believe that cop.
I think Laura has been spending too much time indoors with animals.
Yeah.
I think. Hackett is now caring for the Western screech owl, who they believe is a female. The owl has head trauma, probably from smoking the meth, but is showing signs of improvement after receiving medication. We are
also going through withdrawals.
Yes, is also fiending for another hit of that sweet, sweet meth. We also are already starting to see improvements, which is great. Laura went on to say, Hackett says there are two important points to remember about the wild story. The wild, not the wild is in Minnesota wild, but the wild story. I think this was one of the best PSAs from them, police. It brought home two different illegal points. No, you can't own wildlife, and no, don't do drugs. Laura is so Queen Obvious in this story.
Yeah.
She said, wildlife is wild. That's in their name. They are meant to be living out there. They have the wild instincts. That's their home. That's where they belong.
Thanks, Laura.
Wow, Laura, you're so Captain Obvious here. Yeah, but you know what, Laura? Sometimes when you got a handful of almonds, they'll come up to you and you can feed them. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
And then they become your friend. Am I reading too much into this here, Bruiser?
No, you're absolutely right.
I'm just saying. I mean,
so remember though, you know what you could do next spring?
What's that?
You could lure them in, take them to a gas station, and make a couple $100 off them.
Off the chipmunks?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to take my friend's spot
they'd probably
home?
be a little bit less, right? Because if an owl's going for 100, chipmunk's going to be what, 50?
No, you want to sell them for more because they'll respond.
Yeah, and you have more of them too. You don't just have one.
I got 3. Well, I don't want to get rid of all 3.
No, you got to keep one for yourself.
Yeah. I think maybe just the one that wouldn't go to bed. So Spud. Yeah. We'll sell Spud off. No, I like Spud. Maybe Wicket, because he's like kind of, aloof.
You could also sell it to like, hey, I have this chipmunk here, and he's an excellent sinner, and just have the guy approach so that he yells at him. Because doesn't that what Wicket does? He yells at people.
He barks.
He barks. See?
Yeah. He's an excellent watchdog. Yeah.
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 So that's it. There you go. That's how you sell Wicket. I have a watch chipmunk for you.
Maybe if I could teach him to fight, he could be a... That's terrible. That's some Michael Vick stuff right there.
Yeah.
That's horrible. You don't teach chipmunks to fight. Actually, they fight each other naturally. So
yeah. They're natural fighters.
Yeah.
They're not lovers.
No, they're tough little guys. That's why I think a chipmunk should be the next mascot for the next big college Big Ten entrant.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the USC Trojans and UCLA Bruins coming in. I think we ought to have like the Minnesota State Chipmunks come into the Big Ten next. And
you think if I caught Tank in the backyard, I could probably sell him for a couple $100.
God. I think so, yeah. I think you could get a couple $100 for Tank.
Make Ziggy happy.
Well, yeah, Ziggy wouldn't have a rival anymore. Sure. I'm sure Ziggy would be more at peace around the house.
Yeah.
But, you'd still have the chipmunks bothering Ziggy, too.
Yeah, but they don't bother as much as Tank does. Like, Tank, I think she's like the chipmunk she wants to play with.
Right,
I think Tank she's intimidated by because he's so big.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd say, yeah. I think you can get a couple $100 for Tank. I mean, Yeah.
Or just go do a bunch of mess, capture them, and sell them.
Go do a bunch of method. Come on out, Tank. Ride the snake with me, buddy. Yeah, that would be weird.
I got plans for you, boy. Let's go.
Let's go. You're going to find you a good home. Yeah, very weird, very odd. Yeah, that's for sure. Speaking of a good home for your drugs, have you ever stopped to think if you're going to use illegal drugs where those drugs have been?
No, because
you'd never
definitely not.
You'd never put them in your body.
No, that's why when I hear about people doing drugs in prison, it's like, well, you know where those have been. You know how those got into that prison. Those are butt drugs.
Butt drugs.
Yeah. Those are definitely butt drugs.
And there's only a thin layer of plastic between your drugs and that butt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are basically smoking butt.
You're smoking butt, which, by the way, in the barbecue community is a good thing.
Exactly.
But in the drug community, horrible. The next couple of stories are about the way your drugs come into the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's kind
I watched To Catch a Smuggler, and I've seen different ways they come into the country.
This is like that Sesame Street bit. Who are the people in your neighborhood? Who are the people smuggling your drugs?
And in what orifice?
And in what orifice? 2 women have been busted for smuggling cocaine hidden in their hair extensions. Thank God it was on top of their head. Two women were arrested in Colombia on Thursday for attempting to smuggle cocaine in their hair extensions, according to the Colombia Ministry of Defense.
I can't picture this in my head. I don't know how this would look right.
That's a good question.
Where in a hair extension could you hide drugs?
We'll find out here. The ladies who use the extensions to create elaborate poofy hairstyles were busted at two separate airports in the South American country, according to the agency. They were headed to Madrid, Spain, and were stopped after going through security when a body scan showed foreign objects were stashed in their hair, according to Colonel Carlos Alberto Potez.
Is this like a Ferris Bueller day off thing? You know, the secretary when she's itching her head and she pulls out a pencil out of her hair?
Yeah, except for it's like a key of cocaine.
Yeah.
The drugs were hidden in small, round, black tubes and were strapped to the suspect's scalps underneath the extensions. Now we know how.
There we go. Okay.
There you go. And in fact, here, oh, wow, Bruiser, there's a picture. Here, I got to show you. Here, check that out, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't look natural at all.
No. And that's on the underside of the wig.
Yeah.
Yeah. See that? So if you can imagine, I'm going to describe it for our audience. So if you were to take the underside of a wig, imagine the wig cap, turn it upside down, flex it upside down, and put little tubes of yayo on the inside and line them up in rows.
You know what that actually looks like?
What's that?
You know, during preseason of football, when they have the concussion helmets on top of their helmets?
Yeah.
That's exactly what that looks like.
It looks like a concussion helmet. Yeah. But you just turn it around and flop it on top of your head.
Exactly.
Yeah. Authorities in Colombia proudly displayed the contraband they recovered alongside the hair extensions and the suspects in a series of images. In all, about 2 kilos of the powdery white drug were recovered. It's not just snowing in Minnesota now, it's snowing in Colombia. Isn't that something?
Each of them had a kilo, huh? That's a lot of cocaine.
That's a lot of cocaine under that hairpiece.
Yep. So that's sniffing hair cocaine, not butt cocaine.
Yeah, that's yes, Bruiser. That's a head cocaine right there. Let's see here. The next one I had was where did that go? Here we go. The next one is a woman busted at JFK trying to smuggle 28 pounds of cocaine in her wheelchair wheels. The wheels on the wheelchair go round and round and bump and bump and bump and bump because they don't go anywhere. It's full of coke. That's right.
They strip it apart like they stripped apart a truck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can you imagine a wheelchair up on blocks while you're trying to get all the coke out of the wheels?
Well, you don't have to worry about her running away.
Oh, no. Come on, Bruiser. Oh, no. The first line of the story is bad. It was wheelie suspect. It's bad. A woman was busted at JFK Airport trying to smuggle 28 pounds of cocaine inside the tires of her wheelchair.
That's a lot of cocaine.
According to boys that ever. You could get the entire city of New York high. Federal agents suspected something was off with Emelinda Polino de Rivas in her wheelchair.
That's because as she was wheeling away, there was just a dust trail behind her.
The dusty trail. When she arrived in New York City on Thursday from Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. Yes, she wasn't a baseball scout, ladies and gentlemen. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, officers said they noticed the tires on the wheelchair weren't rotating.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they were just sliding.
Yes. The brakes were on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
you don't wheel real good with that.
Mm-mm. So it's
hard to push somebody like that.
It is. So they x-rayed the 4 rubber wheels and discovered roughly 28 pounds of cocaine. Oh my God, nearly $500,000 worth stuffed in bags inside.
Jeez, that's a lot of cocaine.
How would you like to be busted for that? De Rivas, the Dominican natural, was taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of federal narcotics smuggling raps. CBP stands steadfast and determined in working with our partners to identify the transnational criminal networks responsible for importing these deadly drugs into our neighborhoods, Francis Russo, director of CBP's New York office, said with a little bit of powdered sugar right on his mustache. Have no idea how that got there. I'm kidding. That last part we added. Yeah, it's donuts. It's strictly just...
I hope she doesn't walk it. Try. A shame.
It's a miracle. Hallelujah.
I wheeled that one right in there, didn't I?
Oh, God. See what you did there? I see what you did there.
My jokes are handicapped. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Speaking of someone who may be in a wheelchair right now, a United flight attendant was sent to the hospital after an altercation with an angry passenger.
Okay, that happens.
Yeah. This one is odd in that there was a child involved. Yeah, I think there was a child in somebody's hands at the time.
Don't fight with holding your children.
No, you want to put...
Doesn't end well.
Put the child down first.
Exactly. Or hand it to say, can you hold my kid? Why? I got to punch this guy in the face. Hold on.
A United Airlines flight attendant was sent to the hospital following an altercation with an angry, shouting passenger on a flight to Chicago on Sunday morning. A woman holding a small child was shown screaming and being told to step back by an attendant aboard a flight from San Francisco International Airport to Chicago's O'Hare International Airport in a video posted to Twitter. "Where is it?" the woman yelled out after screaming in the plane's aisle. The video captured and uploaded by Peter Condelis shows. "Ma'am, we are landing," a female flight attendant told her. Then the situation turned frantic. "Sarah, step back," the flight attendant could be heard telling the woman repeatedly with more urgency in her voice each time. Another flight attendant ran down the aisle to aid her colleague, the video shows before ending. Chicago police said they were called for a disturbance that happened on board Flight 476. It responded to its gate at O'Hare Airport at about 6 a.m. 3 people, including a flight attendant, were taken to Resurrection Hospital for observation, police and United Airlines said. A disruptive customer on a flight from San Francisco to Chicago was removed by law enforcement upon landing on Sunday, and one member of the flight attendant crew was taken to a hospital for evaluation. A spokesperson for United Airlines said in a statement to the Post, "We are grateful to our crew for handling this difficult situation with professionalism and for putting the safety of our team and our customers first. It's unclear why the 3 people were taken to the hospital, but no serious injuries were reported, according to United. The FBI is also investigating the altercation."
I can sum it up. The mother hit the flight attendant with the child. Used her like a baseball bat.
Oh, come on now.
All 3 got hurt.
Oh, the baby just fine.
Hey.
Bounce right back.
They always do.
Their
bones are like rubber.
Yeah.
That's why she used her. That's why she used her as a baseball bat.
Oh, come on now. How many times have you used your children as a weapon? Not counting wrestling matches.
Oh, not counting wrestling matches.
Yeah.
Then I haven't.
Okay.
Counting wrestling matches twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
How did that work out for you?
Actually, really good. The old bushwhacker.
Yeah.
Pulled the head, running in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We move on. South Carolina woman dies of a heart attack after a man attempts to break in.
Oh, yeah. It's scary.
Well, it can be. Evidently, it's heart attack scary for this one woman here. A South Carolina man has been charged after a North Myrtle Beach woman died of a heart attack during an attempted home break-in in July. That, according to police.
So, can he be charged with murder?
I believe at least manslaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he caused the heart attack. Well,
yeah,
that says, and her diet.
It says here. God, Cruiser. Maybe it was genetics.
I'm going with diet.
You're going with diet. 40-year-old Austin Thomas Jones is charged with involuntary manslaughter, stemming from a July 24th incident on 20th Avenue South in North Myrtle Beach. In July, a woman called North Myrtle Beach police, saying that someone was attempting to break into her home. Officers determined Jones allegedly broke out a window at the home and was trying to enter. Police took Jones into custody and noticed his knuckles were bleeding and that he was carrying less than a gram of cocaine on his person. Cocaine really is the drug of the
we're back in the 80s, huh?
Overactive, I guess.
So if you do cocaine, just remember, keep your hands busy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, right. After the victim called 911, she went into cardiac arrest as police arrived. Police immediately called the EMS and CPR was administered. Once the woman regained a pulse, she was taken to a local hospital. The woman died 5 days later on July 28th. An autopsy report from the Medical University of South Carolina revealed that the woman went into cardiac arrest with a contributory condition of stress caused by the attempted home invasion. Police ruled the death as a homicide and a warrant was issued for Jones's arrest. He was taken into custody at his home on Wednesday. Public records showed Jones was released from the J. Rubin Long Detention Center on Friday morning on a $2,500 bond.
He literally scared her to death.
He did. That's a look at the perpetrator right there.
He's a man. That would be scary seeing that come in.
I don't know.
They didn't identify the woman at all, did they? How old she was and I don't remember you saying it.
I don't remember saying how old she was. Let's see here.
Yeah.
No, they didn't identify who she was. I think for her family's sake. Yeah. Yep.
But what a jerk.
A jerk indeed.
He's going to be doing butt cocaine for the rest of his life.
Oh, God. Butt cocaine. He loves the coke, though.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
If he wants the coke now, he's going to have to do the butt coke.
Exactly.
Or he's going to have to do the fun dip. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a callback to a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe he's in the same prison as that good doctor.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, he might have to do the fun dip.
The good doctor's like, hey, do you want me to show you some fun dip with some butt cocaine, huh?
Oh, no, you don't take from the front and back. You gotta choose one or the other. I mean, that's just the way it is.
You always had to dip your fun dip.
Yeah.
You had to dip the stick in the fun dip.
You know what they say, you don't shit where you eat. Anywho.
Or do coke.
Well, yeah, there's that too. A couple of food-related stories.
Okay. Now that we're on the fun dip.
Oh, come on. No. No, that's not what I said. A woman's been busted for ground beef battery.
It's a whole new meaning to chuck, huh?
Exactly, yes. You ever seen these huge logs of ground beef?
Oh, yeah, I've been hit with them.
See? They do make a wonderful weapon.
Yeah, just joking around at like a family barbecue. We've sword fought with them and stuff. They crack after a while.
Do they?
Yeah, the big 3-pound ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to see how big this one was. I saw one, I was at the Hy-Vee, you know. The
Up there at the Hy-Vee.
Over there at the Hy-Vee, you know. That's how you got to say it when you're from Minnesota. But I was in Hy-Vee and they had a sale on these 10-pound logs of ground beef. First of all, nothing says I'm working on that heart attack like a 10-pound log of ground beef.
What would you need a 10-pound log of ground beef for?
I don't know. How often are you eating ground beef that you need a 10-pound log?
Yeah.
And how big
Even if it's a family gathering, you're not going to use a 10-pound log of ground beef.
Well, and what are you making that you need 10 pounds of ground beef?
Yeah, because that can make a ton of hamburgers, but you got to do that by hand because it's a log.
Yeah. Or maybe you're just making the world's largest meatloaf.
That could be.
I don't know. In the story that I'm about to read, I think they're actually featuring the 7.5 pound.
I've been hit with that.
You've been hit with that?
Yeah, like I said, a family.
Good Lord.
Cookout, family barbecue.
That's
just having fun. You know, brothers and sisters.
Oh no, these
together.
are
those are the 10-pound ones, huh?
These are the 10-pound ones, the ones in the picture.
Those I haven't been hit with then.
Yeah, those are big suckers. They're probably about, I don't know, I want to say about 2.5 feet long. Yeah. Maybe 3 foot. They're pretty big.
That's what she said.
Wonder how much coke you could store in a ground beef log. So, responding to a report of a disturbance in the potato chip aisle of Walmart in Ohio.
Use what you got. That's what this fight was. It was a use what you got fight.
That's right. Police Tuesday arrested a Cleveland woman for allegedly striking a female victim in the face with a 10-pound log of ground beef.
It was a 10-pounder. Okay.
That's got to hurt.
That's like a baseball bat to the face. It's got to be.
That's shocking. The confrontation at the store in South Euclid, a Cleveland suburb, involved two women, Monica Garner and Precious Jackson. Oh my. Who once lived in the same duplex. Cops say the 36-year-old Jackson who was battered with the ground beef. That's a rare line I get to read on the show. My job is never boring. You know that?
No, it's not. It's not.
Never is.
I like when people ask about, I heard you do a podcast. Yeah, I do. My good buddy, the cruiser, Tim. So what do you guys discuss? And I always just throw out like dumb crimes, stupid criminals that we discussed. Hot dogs being used as weapons. Now I have a 10-pound log of ground chuck being used as a baseball bat. Perfect.
Women beating each other with beef. Yeah. Little Monica Precious action.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slap you right in the face with this side of meat.
I'm going to whip you upside the head with my beef. Congratulations. Now, if I were to say that to somebody, they would think I was being rude and crude.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. But in this case, it's a crime.
Did she respond with slapping her with bologna?
Oh, let's find out. I'm sure. So where was I here? Oh, yes. Okay. So Monica and Precious getting it on. Ding, ding. Let's get it on. It turns out that Jackson, 36, who was battered with the ground beef, previously secured a protection order against the 25-year-old Garner. Ooh, okay, it gets better. According to police, when the pair spotted each other, Garner threatened to beat up Jackson, as well as her 7-year-old daughter, who was with Jackson at Walmart.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's beat the child, too. Why not?
Oh, gosh.
Child's innocent.
Yeah, child hasn't done anything. Garner, cops say, pulled down Jackson's mask and attempted to spit on her. Yikes. Playing dirty pool here.
Yeah.
When she missed the target, Garner reached into Jackson's shopping cart and removed the prepackaged meat log.
She took her beef. Yes. She didn't even bring the beef to the fight. The other lady did. That's like taking someone else's gun and shooting them.
That's right. Which she then used to strike the victim a couple of times in the face. She got a couple shots in.
Thank God this happened before Thanksgiving.
Right. Can you imagine getting hit with a frozen turkey?
Oh, God, that would hurt.
That would have been the end of it. In the weapons use section of a South Euclid Police Department report, the ground beef is described as a blunt object. The meat logs retail for around $22.
That means if this goes to trial, you could log in a 10-pound log of ground beef as evidence.
Ooh, that thing would be rancid.
Yeah. Do you go buy a new one? Or do you have to use that one?
No,
that's one that you use.
You have to use that one if you check it into evidence, but I don't think they would. I don't think they would because it's perishable.
So let's take pictures of it.
Yep, you just take pictures.
And then eat it.
Picture that right. I'm going to show you her picture here in a second here. Ms. Garner, who was shopping with her 5-year-old child, was arrested for assault and violating a temporary protective order. Custody of the minor was turned over to a relative. According to police, Garner has a history of violent behavior and is the subject of multiple active arrest warrants. Garner pleaded not guilty to the 2 misdemeanor charges during her arraignment in South Euclid Municipal Court.
And the victim was quoted as saying this: "Does my face look like funny? Because it doesn't hurt, not so much here or here, just right here."
She don't know karate, but she knows crazy. What do you think? Would you would you put up with her for a little smack in the face with a beef log?
Yeah, she's interesting.
I'd take a shot in the chops with a beef log for her.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would. I would. I know it's horrible to say, and you're like, Tim, that's so misogynistic. No, I'm serious. I'd put up with her.
She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
She's got a hell of a right too.
You know what it is though? She's 25.
Yeah.
So she's got a lot of living to do yet.
Oh God, yeah. If she's hitting people with 10 pounds of meat, yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of Walmart, she's. You know what this is all over? I can tell you right now.
Oh man.
I bet you they both have the same baby dad.
Same baby daddy.
Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh yeah.
That's why they're fighting in the middle of Walmart. This next one is going to curb your appetite for dinner. I hate to tell you that, Bruiser.
I don't know. We're having weenie casserole, and it's the greatest thing ever made.
I got the second greatest thing ever made.
Okay, what's that?
You ready?
Yep.
A woman's video of her delicious meal earns her an arrest.
Okay. All right. She's putting drugs in it?
No, there's no drugs in it. A Thai woman gleefully pulled the wings off a bat and scarfed it down on video.
Why?
A Thai woman who wanted to go viral got her wish, and now she's apparently in big legal trouble after showing herself eating a bat on camera. Fuck.
Is it illegal to eat bats?
Yeah, they're an endangered species.
They are.
Yep.
Isn't that how everyone thinks that's how COVID started, right? Wasn't it rumored?
Yeah, that had to do with bats. That was a rumor, but again, just a rumor.
It was a rumor, yeah. But
it was something about improperly prepared bat in a wet market.
Yeah, I didn't know that you couldn't eat bats. That's news to me.
I'll explain here in a second. Yep.
Not that I want to eat a bat. Like, it's not on my list of exotic animals I want to eat.
I have no desire.
Neither do I. I don't look at them and go, delicious.
Oh, but she did on the video. Let me continue to explain. Fanchanak Sri Sunaklua. Say that
10 times fast.
Who has identified herself as a teacher, posted a clip Monday on her Facebook and TikTok pages showing her supping from a bowl filled with broth, tomatoes, and multiple dead bats, per TMZ. And I actually saw the video last night.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Which has also posted her gag-worthy video. So you can see that on TMZ. At one point in the footage, Sri Sunakula, that's how she says her name, lifts one of the bats out of the bowl by its wings, which she then proceeds to tear off. She then scarfs down chunks of the bat, noting that the meat was sticky and that the bat's nails smells like a rat's.
This lady's obviously never had a Big Mac.
No.
Or a McRib.
No, although, McRib soup would be delicious.
It would be.
We only have a few days left of the McRib, my friend.
I know.
We got to pile them on.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Still, Sri Sunaklua, I'm saying it different every time. Sri Sunakula, I believe is what it is, who said it was her first time eating the flying mammal, declared her meal delicious. She reportedly purchased the bats at a market in northern Thailand near the border with Laos, where bats infected with a cousin of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, that's right, COVID, have been found. It's that fact that had viewers particularly outraged over her stunt. When you get infected and cause an outbreak, who will be in trouble? Not just yourself, one critic commented on her Facebook post. If you want to die, just die alone. Don't put others in trouble as well, another wrote. Medical experts, including an epidemiologist with Thailand's Department of Disease Control and an infectious diseases doctor with the Thai Red Cross, agreed that humans could indeed get sick with various coronaviruses and other pathogens from handling or eating bats, especially if the meat isn't cooked well, per the Pattaya Mail. Sri Sunaklua, there we go, has since assured everyone that she's still alive, in quotes, and she's taken her original video down and issued an apology. However, she's now reportedly been arrested on charges of possession of protected wildlife carcasses and for breaching a computer-related crimes law. She's looking for at up to 5 years behind bars and or a maximum fine of nearly $14,000 if convicted.
Ugh. Why would you want to eat a flying rodent? That's just disgusting.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're flying rodents.
They are. Some of
I mean,
them
they're great for the environment, and I don't mind. They're cool.
They eat mosquitoes.
Yeah, and I like seeing them fly. I don't mind watching videos. I don't think they're a disgusting creature. I just don't think I think it's disgusting to eat them.
Some of them have kind of cute faces.
Yeah, like Batman.
Yeah, like Batman, yes. Bruce Wayne had kind of a cute face under that cowl.
Batgirl did.
Sure. I know. Now people are questioning me. What? Yeah, absolutely. Last two stories of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. We're getting down to sexy time. There was nothing sexy about the first part of our program. The last two stories are sexy time. Not safe for work. The first part of our program wasn't either. But again, turn down your radio if you're listening. If you're listening at work, if you're listening in front of the kids, if you're listening, I don't know why you'd be listening to this program today in front of the kids. I question your judgment if you've been listening to any part of today's program in front of the kids. But turn down the old listening device. Here we go.
Okay.
Sexy time on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals.
Time for some boobs and beer. Beer and boobs.
You know what? That was one of the most popular sayings. By the way, before we get to these last two stories, you have just one day to get your entries in for the Darkness Radio Millionaires Club. And we've told you what the Millionaires Club is by now, but again, we passed 1 million downloads in the period between June 15th and October 15th of this past year. Since we've been on Audio Boom, in just 4 short months, we've gotten over 1 million downloads. So to celebrate, we're giving away a 1 in a million prize pack, which is comprised of a few different things. There's some autographed merchandise in there, autographed 8x10 from our own Beer City Bruiser. I'll throw in an autograph as well. What the heck? We're going to try and get some merchandise from Mally and Jess as well. But there's some exclusive merchandise, one-of-a-kind merchandise that you alone will own. You and nobody else has. Bruiser doesn't have it. I don't have it. Mally doesn't have it. Jess doesn't have it. You're going to be the only one on the planet that owns that merchandise. That's why we call it the 1 in a million prize pack, right? And we unveiled the logo on social media. The one and only the famous Howie Noel did the logo for the Millionaires Club.
And it looks amazing.
It does.
If you haven't seen it, check out the social medias.
It's an amazing logo. We're going to give away some secondary prizes. I shouldn't say secondary prizes. Some runner-up prizes is what we'll call them for people who have sent in their entries. So that'll be randomly drawn. We're going to draw them tomorrow on the show.
Yes, we are.
So we'll let you know who that prize winner is of the 1 in a million prize pack. So getting around to my story here, as I'm putting all the entries into a folder in my mail, right?
Yeah.
Labeled Millionaires Club. And one of the most common responses is, I love boobies and beer and boobies.
Of course, because everybody loves it.
That's right. That's right. Besides, give me my free shit, I'll have my free shit. And then sometimes they put them together. So I love my free shit, give me my free shit, beer and boobies and beer. So we have the most articulate audience in all of podcast land.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are the two things that have been combined there. So yeah, beer and boobies and beer.
You're going to have to show me some of these.
I'm going to, yeah.
Or read them or something.
You know, I was thinking on tomorrow's show, I'm gonna grab some of the. I won't bust out the people who have
right. No.
Right. I might use first names only, but
yeah.
I'm gonna read a few of them because they're really, really funny.
Creative too. From the
Yes.
few you shared with me, there are a lot of very creative.
Very creative. I just said when you send in your entries, just put anything in the body of the email. There is just one thing that's required in the email. By the way, you have one more day as you hear this. If you want to enter, just send an email to tim@darknessradio.com. What's required is in the subject line, you have to put in, I want to be in the Million-Airs AIRS Club. So that's what's required. You have to put that in there. You don't put that in there, you're disqualified. It has to be exactly like that. Now, in the body of the email, I don't care what you put in there. I want free shit. I love free shit. Aliens contacted me and told me to put that I need your free shit in the email. AI has sent me to gather your free shit.
Boobies and beer, beer and boobies.
Yep, boobies and beer, beer and boobies. You can put that in there. Anything you want, you put that in the body of the email. We've had such original. We had a listener generate AI art for us,
which was just creepy.
I thought it was creepy too. That this listener told us we had nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
I think we have something to worry about. We had another listener create a picture of Joy Behar with Patrick Swayze in
Which
a ghost
is one of my
scenario.
favorites. I showed it off this whole weekend while doing the underwater needlepoint.
Oh my God. We've just had some of the most original and funny stuff set into us for people just entering the contest. And we've just had some of the nicest stuff too. People saying, you know what, I can't get through my week unless I hear you guys doing both True Crime Tuesday and Supernatural News, doing Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. You guys make my week so much easier, so much better. I love you guys. You guys are the greatest. Just some really nice compliments. So that's greatly appreciated, and we love every bit of it. So get your entries in. You have, at the time of this, you may hear it a little less than 24 hours. We're going to draw at noon. It'll be noon at the time that we tape the afternoon. So let me think here. So it'll be noon on the 15th of November, right?
When we record, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put out something on social media to let people know, but yeah. So let me think. So will it help for them to hear this?
Maybe.
Oh, there are a lot of people who download this show before noon.
Yeah. But hopefully they have their entries in.
Yeah, hopefully you have your entries in already.
We gave them a long time to get the entries in.
So if you're hearing this before noon on the 15th of November, get your entries in. If not, we'll hold in for as long as we can. If you get it in, don't bother if it's after noon on the 15th of November, because we've already drawn for those prizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's kind of the
lay of the land.
The lay of the land, the deadline for everything. And then we'll draw and we'll let people know exactly what we're drawing for. We're not going to announce all the winners. We're going to announce the grand prize winner tomorrow. People who have won the secondary prizes or the runner-up prizes, we'll let them know individually what they've won. So there you go.
Perfect.
Last two stories of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals.
Sexy stories.
The sexy stories. Although I don't know how sexy they are, but we'll throw them at you here. An old-timer beau demanded sex up to 10 times a day, and he's been sued for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, guys, watch out.
Well, makes sense if the one lady filed the auto insurance claim because she got an STD in the guy's car. So, hey, why not?
I think you're referring to last week.
It was a couple weeks ago we had that story.
Yeah. This is an unusual story. This old-timer had a libido bigger than his bank account, evidently. A former Wilhelmina model claims her on-again, off-again octogenarian beau persuaded her to ditch her career, rent stabilized Chelsea apartment, this being in New York City, and moved into his sprawling Rye home where he sometimes demanded sex a staggering 10 times a day.
Hey, Blue Chew, Viagra, Cialis, it's a hell of a drug.
I think he was chewing all of that. Multiple Supreme Court suit. 68-year-old Janet Bedin, or I believe is how she pronounces her last name. By the way,
she was 6. I thought she was younger.
She's 68.
Wow.
Talk about being on the verge of breaking a hip.
Yeah, exactly.
Claims
she could die doing that many times.
Well, speaking of could die doing that, claims that 84-year-old Vito Verni,
Vito, my man.
Right. Talk about Italians being able to keep it up. Pulled an emotional bait and switch between the beginning of 2019 and the end of 2021 when they lived together as a couple in the 5,000 square foot Westchester mansion. The
she still had a career at 68. She wasn't retired.
No, evidently not.
Just retire, lady.
Bedin is now suing Verni for $80 million, charging a laundry list that includes defamation, fraudulent inducement, harassment, and illegal eviction, according to court papers. I've got pictures to show you here in a second here, Bruiser. You tell me if the lawsuit is frivolous. The civil suit paints a picture of an accomplished career woman duped by a man who swept her off her feet with promises of love and luxury he did not keep. Bedin, I don't know how to pronounce her name, even gave up her dog because Verni had a cat and she worked like a horse.
Now she wins the lawsuit. You don't give up dogs.
That's right. Plaintiff, the quote here is, plaintiff was to be 100% his caregiver. He meant for plaintiff to be available for all his sexual needs, to be his escort, do his laundry, cook his meals. It turned out to mean sexual intercourse at times up to 10 times a day, the suit says. Over the years, Bedin developed an exciting career, very well respected by executives and government leaders, traveling back and forth from New York to Italy, the suit says. From 1991 to 1995, she served as executive director of the New York State Economic Office for Italy and Spain under former Governor Mario Cuomo. So she was getting it at work, too.
Yeah. I was going to say, she's used to this.
She served again in that post from 2015 through 2018. In that capacity, plaintiff had the honor of meeting Pope Francis, Mother Teresa, the president and the prime minister of Italy, the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican, and many others, who she continued to count as her friends, the complaint says. The duo had been on and off lovers for decades, according to the October 26th filing. In 1976, a 21-year-old Bedin arrived in New York from Rockford, Illinois, hoping to pursue her dream of modeling and acting, the suit says. She started out as a model for Wilhelmina before pivoting to being a business development executive. That same year, Bedin became a tenant in the West 22nd Street building. Verni, then 38, owned at the time that building. Court papers show. The ex-model claims the seeds for the Randy relationship were planted when Verni kept calling her to inspect the apartment, according to the suit.
That's a good game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Verni never wore a wedding ring and started to kiss Bedin in her apartment, leading to a long, intimate relationship that has been on and off since 1976.
That's a hell of an on and off relationship.
That's a big time friends with benefits relationship if I've ever heard of it.
She should have known how he was, knowing him that long.
You would think. Bedin.
It's not like like he turned 80 and went, you know what, I'm really horny now. You know, like he probably had a huge libido back then.
Oh, I'm sure. Bedin broke off with Verni several times, but the married man continued to pursue her, the complaint reads. In late 2018, Verni called Bedin to inform her his wife had died and that he is now single. Oh, they were doing it behind the wife's back.
Ooh.
And asked her out, the lawsuit says. Soon thereafter, Verni pressured, cajoled, induced Bedin to leave New York City and move in with him at his 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom estate and no longer be part of the workforce, the suit charges. Verni told Bedin that he wanted her to be with him 100% of the time, and she was to just focus on him, the suit alleges. Vernai allegedly promised to cover the bills of Badin's ailing brother and vowed we will travel, be at his club, socialize with his friends, go to museums, take wine classes together. But once Badin moved in, the relationship changed, the suit says. Charging Vernai became controlling and verbally and physically abusive. The savvy, experienced New York City landlord for over 65 years evicted Badin, says the explosive lawsuit. Vernai owns many apartment buildings in Manhattan, the Bronx, Connecticut, and a new development in Harrison, New York, the complaint says. The suit charges that Vernai initially showered her with cards and letters and an emerald and diamond engagement ring and fraudulently induced her to give up her career. In court papers pertaining to the eviction, Vernai called Badin's claim a shakedown and said, "We socialized a few days a week and nothing more." Said Vernai's lawyer, Eric Grayson, Ms. Badin's baseless lawsuit is just one more attempt to harass Mr. Vernai. Ms. Badin filed almost the exact same suit in Westchester County Supreme Court, and last month it was dismissed by Justice Zuckerman on all counts. Mr. Vernai has obtained 4 orders of protection against Ms. Badin, and at the last hearing, Justice Horowitz stated, "Madam, you really need to understand you're going to end up in jail, and I'm shocked that you haven't already. It has to stop. The court has now fully warned Ms. Badin if she ends up in jail, she has no one to blame but herself."
Yeah.
Wow.
Scorned lover.
I guess.
And if she does win the suit, he's going to be dead in a few years. She'll never see money.
I got to think, being a New York landlord, that he doesn't have much of a lifespan. He's been put through plenty of stress.
That's what they look like currently?
Yeah, evidently.
He doesn't look 81.
He doesn't. I got to think that this is an older photo.
It has to be.
Yeah.
I can see her being 68 in that photo, but there's no way he's 81 in that photo.
No.
If not, I want to know what he has to keep so youthful looking and so his libido up like it is.
Probably on triple shots of testosterone.
Yeah, probably.
He's probably jamming a needle in his ass every couple of weeks.
He's at the gym bench pressing more than 20-year-olds.
That's right. And finally, on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, an Arizona teacher and her hubby lose their jobs after filming OnlyFans videos in class.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that. There was a teacher a while ago that filmed the porn in her class, and she got busted and kicked out.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad idea.
It's a horrible idea.
You don't want to bring work to work with you.
No, you don't. No. And you know what? No offense, but somebody you work with is subscribing to your OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. You know that eventually that's going to catch up.
Exactly. And they don't use their real name, I bet.
Yeah. And they're going to go, hey, doesn't that look like work right there?
Mm-hmm. Hey, that classroom looks familiar.
Yeah, I think I work in that building.
Well, or it's a former student.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I think I learned how to write cursive in that room.
I learned how to write cursive in 8th grade. Because that's how bad our education system is now.
Well, that's how you can write secret messages nowadays. Kids don't know cursive.
Oh, they don't? That's what's scary.
Yeah.
Remember when you were taught cursive and you were like, oh yeah, this is cool. And, it was, what was it, 3rd grade we learned cursive?
It had to be, yeah.
Yeah.
With the paper with the lines on it and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, handwriting paper. You can't even find handwriting paper right now in school.
Everything's digital.
Yeah, it's crazy. An 8th grade teacher in Arizona and her husband have lost their school jobs after they recorded OnlyFans videos in her classroom, a side hustle that she claimed was necessary to supplement their low salaries. Using the alias Chloe Carter with K's, Thunderbolt Middle School science teacher Samantha Peer uploaded the X-rated videos for her OnlyFans page, which her students found and shared among themselves.
See, told you.
Yeah. See, you can't get one over on the kids when they're that plugged in.
We were all horny. So in 8th grade, you're what, 13, 12, 13? We were all horny 13-year-olds at one point in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we all had the libido of an 81-year-old man in New York.
That's right. An 81-year-old landlord in New York. Yeah, we were fired up and ready to go. Her husband, Nautilus Elementary School fourth grade teacher Dylan Peer, also took part in the adult productions inside the Lake Havasu Unified School District building. Oh, God. Samantha said she resigned under pressure on October 31st after being placed on paid administrative leave and probation. Dylan was let go 4 days later. He wasn't going down without a fight. At least that's what she said in the video. See what I did there?
It starts out with her teaching them cursive.
Yeah. And none of the kids know what they're talking about. Yeah. And then the sex happens and they totally know what they're talking about. On Friday, she released a video explaining that she and her hubby resorted to creating X-rated videos because of their low salaries. My children are the most important thing to me, and I'm already spending countless hours outside of my contract time on extra school activities. And I don't think it's fair that I have to sacrifice my own children's time because our professional salary did not pay enough, she said. And that according to WFLA and that what they reported.
She's missing the point of why she's in trouble. It's not that she has an OnlyFans.
Right.
They're not angry at that.
Right.
They're angry at the fact that she filmed it in her classroom.
Yep, on school grounds.
Yeah, she's completely missing the point of why she got released.
Right. Samantha said she began creating the content at the beginning of summer to help cover her needs. It got to a point where our family was not able to survive on our two teachers' income, she said.
They were covering her needs, all right.
Oh, boy. I chose an anonymous name as well as blocking the entire state of Arizona on OnlyFans so it wasn't accessible to anyone living in the state. But there are VPNs that get around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also cousins and uncles and brothers and sisters that are in college in other states.
Right. The teacher admitted that she created explicit content in a classroom and advertised it, but claimed she did so after school hours on the weekend with no students present.
That still doesn't make it okay.
Doesn't matter.
She doesn't get it.
You use the state's resources and the county's resources in order to do that. It was unclear how the students found her content, which they circulated amongst themselves. Well, they're pretty smart, believe it or not. Yeah. You don't give them enough credit. Samantha said...
It's not like it was back in the day where you left a Playboy in the woods and then one person found it and got around school. Hey, there's a Playboy in this woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, in the 90s, there was a lot of Playboy in the woods.
There was, wasn't there? Hugh Hefner had a stake out in the woods. It's like he owned property out there.
Yeah.
Samantha said she was placed on administrative leave after a community member notified the district about the content on October 24th. 2 days later, I had asked that an individual that was assigned my case or to my case be removed because they had created a hostile work environment between me and other coworkers for several years during my employment, she said. I did not feel safe with them knowing this information, and I felt that they would spread it in retaliation for their own personal vendetta, Samantha added. She said that she was told if she resigned before a school board meeting, the district would not publicize the sordid matter, but the images were then shared among teachers. These teachers were also telling students my anonymous name and showing them my page, Samantha alleged. This was also sent to the parents, and they decided to do the same thing as well. On November 7th, the school notified parents about students sharing the explicit videos. It has come to our attention that students have been airdropping explicit material. They can all afford iPhones, evidently. Yeah.
Look at that.
The images did not happen during the school day, and the person depicted no longer works for LHUSD, the email said, according to Arizona's Family. That's the name of the publication. Please remove all images from your child's phone and talk with them about the appropriate use of technology, it also added. Wait,
that's not appropriate? Come on.
That's got to be an embarrassing thing to put on an email. No criminal...
I'd be mad at the teacher just now that I have to have this conversation with my child.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No criminal charges have been filed against the educator, the news outlet said. I am absolutely outraged. Our kids shouldn't have been exposed to this, said, I believe this is Aaliyah Bilski, the mother of an 8th grader, adding that Samantha's account was linked to her non-alias social media pages. If it was just an OnlyFans account, I wouldn't be as upset because then that would be 100% on the kid's parents. But this was public and an easy Google search to find everything, Bilski told the News Herald. Another parent, Christina Miner, said Samantha was sharing these links to her sex site on her social media accounts, which are public, on which children follow her.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's mistake number 2.
That's wrong,
there.
too, yeah.
Yeah. Miner said the teacher used her school yearbook photo on OnlyFans on a post that says, "Who wants to be my next teacher's pet?"
Oh, yeah. She could really, that's strike 3. She's done.
"I'm a taxpayer. I'm not paying these teachers to film pornography. They're being paid to teach our kids and set higher standards for them," she said. School spokeswoman Andrea Hellert told the News Herald that the district cannot comment on personnel matters. My thinking is the fact that she kind of took the sword and resigned is what the agreement called for. And they're not going to pursue it any further.
They're like, this is too hot for teacher. You need to...
Too hot for teacher.
You need to go. You need to jump right out of here.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they got the husband out of there quickly, and she's taking the heat for this deal is
well, she's taking the heat, it sounds like, is because she's commenting on it and missing the point of why she's being released.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to blame them for not paying her enough, and that's not the reason. It's not the OnlyFans that she's in trouble for. Like,
right.
Oh, you want to show your tits to the world? Go ahead. Just don't do it in our school.
Right. You know, she's missing a lot, as you pointed out. She's missing a lot of the point. But the other part of this, too, is it would have gone away very quickly had she just been quiet about it and moved on.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing, too, is to clean up the social media site.
Yeah.
You know, either to take off the education credit under employment and just put something like homemaker or something like that to take off any mention of the school district. So it's
or
not
just have a completely separate profile.
Yeah. Well, she might have friends and family and stuff like that are on that profile. But to get rid of, or to just post a profile that's got her acting name on it and separate the two.
Because I have a personal page and I have a professional page, so she could have done that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's making a bigger mess out of this than she needs to. I
think she's hoping that it draws attention.
Yeah. She's making a mountain out of a molehill here, and she's not going to get her job back. Let's face it.
No, oh God, no. She won't be teaching in any classes.
No, anywhere, and not just the state of Arizona. It's
because it's a nationwide. Look, we're here. You're in, Minnesota. I'm in North Carolina, and we just heard about it, and she's done. Yeah, it's a done deal. It's calling it a day for her there in the education field. She's not going elsewhere. So at least she's got an OnlyFans page. She just needs to find places to record.
And here's the other thing too. I mean, it doesn't take much to set up a fake set.
No, it doesn't.
You don't have to use a real set. You don't have to use a real schoolroom.
Yeah.
You know how
many times I had to film a wrestling promo in a fake bar?
Yeah. Exactly. And here's the thing. How many people at home who are tuned into an OnlyFans video are going, man, I just can't get hard because I can tell that this is a fake schoolroom.
Man, this scenario I get, but like, he just has pizza written on his head. I'm not buying that he's really a pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, I can't buy it. I can't suspend my disbelief here.
Has anyone ever looked at porn and went, wow, that's a really nice exotic location?
Yeah. How did they get the budget to film in Hawaii? Yeah. I can't believe that that's just South Florida.
Like, oh my gosh, look at that. Really looks like a mechanic's shop.
That's amazing. How did they get the budget to pull that all together?
That guy really looks like a plumber. Good for him.
Yeah, he's even got the plumber's crack right there. I don't think the attention to detail had to be pulled here.
Yeah.
So, I think the teacher needed
They wanted to do it
down.
to see if they can get away with it, and it was exciting because they were in public.
That's exactly what it was. They were getting away with it because they were doing it at work.
Yeah.
Yep. They were taunting the system, and they got caught. Is what it was. So.
It was right after parent-teacher conferences too.
Yep. I'm sure it was. Sure it was.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today. Bruiser, what do you got coming up?
I have the weekend off. I am resting and relaxing before a busy WrestleCade weekend.
That's right, WrestleCade coming up. Is that the Black Friday weekend?
Black Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yep.
That's right. So
I'm excited.
WrestleCade is if you haven't been to one before, is I guess every wrestling fan's dream, and some people who aren't wrestling fans, it's their dream because you get to see some wrestlers that maybe you saw as a kid that you want to see again. It's a huge convention down there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have a bunch of new merch that'll be there.
Very cool. Very cool.
Wrestling almost every single day. I'll have a booth set up, so come say hi.
Yeah.
Let me know you're a fan of the show.
Right on, right on. So Bruiser will be at WrestleCade this year, and we encourage you to go out to WrestleCade and say hey to Bruiser and say hi, give him a hug, purchase some merch. That's for sure. Yeah. So
I'll have some.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot. Mrs. Bruiser went out of her way. We have a new shirt debuting there.
Yeah, I saw the logo. It's really cool.
Yeah,
really cool. So, check out Bruiser at WrestleCade this year. That's for sure. I wish I could be there. I wanted to. Maybe next year I'll come out and come surprise you. Come say hi to you at WrestleCade. That'd be cool.
They have a podcast room too, so we could record.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Well, I found out about that actually a couple days ago.
Oh.
When they announced Jeff Jarrett. I guess he's recording his podcast there.
Really?
I was like, I didn't know there was a podcast room. I would have seen what we could have done to get Darkness Radio in there.
So. All right. Well, next year we'll make a date of it. We'll set up Darkness Radio down at WrestleCade next year.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's we got to look into some true crime podcasts as well. Some podcast conventions. See if we can get into there. So that'll do it for today's episode. Tomorrow we've got supernatural news. We're going to draw for the Millionaires Club. We're going to draw for the 1 in a Million prize pack tomorrow. We've got all kinds of strange stories, some funny stories as well. Thursday, Bruiser.
What do you got Thursday?
Thursday, my friend. We got the kids from Destination Fear.
Ooh, that's right. You were telling me you were recording with them.
Yeah, we get the kids from Destination Fear. The new season picks up on season 4 picks up on November 25th.
Nice.
On Discovery Plus and on Travel Channel. And I got the pleasure to see the first 2 episodes of the season, and oh my God.
Hey, you said there's some interesting footage with a camera and them sitting down talking to the camera. He said it's pretty interesting.
I saw a scene with Tanner, and without spoiling it, I'll put it to you this way. It is as disturbing as if you remember when the Blair Witch first came out. And I know a lot of people may be rolling their eyes right now. But if you remember the tension you first felt when you saw the scene in the tent with the girl crying in her eyes,
Yeah.
You remember that tension you felt when you first saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's that type of tension with Tanner.
Nice.
In the tunnels at Crescent Sanatorium. And the show is so well put together now. It's so, everything is.
They're finding their groove.
They are. They're getting their groove. The personalities are gelling. The evidence is there. Everything is there. And it's just such a good show. The first two episodes are just knocking it out of the park. So I think you guys are going to be excited for the new season. I think you guys are going to love the new season. And the interview is really good. So I think you guys will love Thursday's show. We sit down with all 4 of them. We've got Dakota, Tanner, Alex, and Chelsea. So,
right.
Yeah. So that's on Thursday. But that'll do it for today's show. We want you to, we want you to pick up the book that we were talking about today. The book is called Strangled. and LaDonna Humphrey is the author on that book. And you want to pick it up, we have a link in the description of the show. And again, I encourage you to pick it up. Again, it's a darker subject, and we do encourage that you be of age, be 18 or older if you pick up the book. There are some dark subjects in it with death fetish pornography and whatnot. It is a book that you are going to need some time with, because there are some jarring real life examples of stalking in it, and murder and rape and whatnot. But it is a good book, and it is a book that I would encourage people to read. There's also the podcast that Alecia and LaDonna are doing. DeepDarkSecrets.com is the podcast, and I encourage you to listen to that podcast as well. The first season is up of that podcast, and to help shed some light on the death fetish pornography community, and exactly why it's not a fetish, why it really is a cauldron for growing serial killers. It's a shame that that's out there, but it is out there, and it's one of those things that we do need to shine a light on and show people that things like this out there do exist. So check that out. Again, it's in the description of the show, and it's one of those things that you need to educate yourself about, and for the women in our lives to be aware of, that there are people out there like that are preying on innocent people, and something to keep in the back of your head so that you can remain safe. So in the meantime, we will see you tomorrow. We'll be drawing for the Millionaires Club, and we'll be having some fun with supernatural news. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thanks for listening to the best in true crime talk radio, True Crime Tuesday.